on, everyone? My name is Jamon McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Welcome, everyone, to the Juice Alert, episode number 29. If you have not subscribed to the Juice Alert already, be sure to do that right about now. You will not regret it. You can, of course, find me on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that great stuff. If you're watching this video on YouTube, consider hitting that like button for me right about now. It definitely helps me out. Also, if you enjoy this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, be sure to give me a good rating and review. It definitely helps me out. Today, very fun show for all of you ladies and gentlemen. We're covering 15 topics today, all NFL related. We'll talk about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about Daniel Jones, how I feel about him, the Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts. He had his first ever NFL start. He defeated the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk about that. Is Carson Wentz done for? Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. We'll talk about Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith, the whole quarterback situation right now in Washington. We'll also talk about Aaron Rodgers. A whole lot of great fun things to talk about today. Before I do get started, I just wanted to say you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram is at GHIMAN_MCKINNEY. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter account is at GHIMANMCKINNEY. You can also follow the Instagram and Twitter accounts for the Juice Alert in order to get updates in regards to the show. The Twitter account for the Juice Alert is at the Juice Alert, and the Instagram account for the Juice Alert in regards to where you can get updates for the show on Instagram, that is the Juice Alert _. Okay, everyone, let's get started. Let's not waste any more time. Great fun show lined up for you guys today, obviously. I firmly believe that Bill Belichick deserves the most credit for creating the New England Patriots dynasty. I believe Bill Belichick is more responsible for the Patriots dynasty, and I don't give Tom Brady the majority of the credit. Obviously, both deserve a ton of credit for the massive success that the Patriots achieved during a 20-year stretch. However, I would give the edge to Bill Belichick. I've always said that, okay? I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably saying, oh, Jamon, how can you say that? Right now, Tom Brady's 8-5 on the season. The Buccaneers, they're going to be a playoff team. The Patriots, they're 6-7. They're not that good this year. I will say, it's too early to tell kind of who has, won the divorce, just because we're not even a full year removed from these guys, leaving each other. Also, I'm not here to compare who's going to win or who has won the divorce. I'm here to tell you who was more responsible for what happened in New England. Now, by the way, for those of you that might want to get my thoughts on what Tom Brady has proven, what Bill Belichick has proven so far, I will say, I'm going to give Bill Belichick the benefit of the doubt just because this is one of his least talented Patriots team that he's ever had. He's had a ton of players opt out. The Patriots don't have very many players on the outside at wide receiver. Cam Newton is learning a whole new system. And let's be real, Cam Newton, he's not Tom Brady. Give Bill Belichick about another year or two. The Patriots, they'll be fine. They're just struggling this year. And for what it's worth, for those of you that didn't think Tom Brady was all that great and that he was a system quarterback, well, guess what? Tom Brady has proven you wrong. I never felt that Tom Brady was a system quarterback, even though I think that most quarterbacks sort of are, dependent upon a system to a certain degree. But Tom Brady, he's great. He's turned around a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that was kind of allergic to winning. They've not had a whole lot of winning seasons over the past 2 decades. He instantly changed the culture in Tampa Bay. However, I will say Tom Brady did stack the deck. He brought in a bunch of Pro Bowl players. He made sure this team was going to be super ultra talented. And for what it's worth, he left the Patriots at the appropriate time. Tom Brady knew that Patriots team was not going to be very good this year. He left at the appropriate time. He stacked the deck in Tampa Bay. He should be doing better than Bill Belichick off the bat, okay? But either way, why do I have Bill Belichick over Tom Brady in regards to who gets the most credit in New England? In my opinion, I'll give you a couple reasons. In my opinion, I believe in 4 of the 6 Super Bowls that the Patriots won, I give Bill Belichick more credit than Tom Brady. I think that Bill Belichick deserves the most credit for winning 4 of the 6 Super Bowls that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick won. And I believe Tom Brady deserves the most credit for only 2. Let's go over some of these Super Bowl wins. Obviously, they win their first ever Super Bowl, 20-17 versus the LA Rams. I give the edge to Bill Belichick in that Super Bowl. Tom Brady did not play great for about 3.5 quarters. It was more of a defensive type of game, not an offensive shootout. And if it were not for that defense kind of, holding things down for Tom Brady doesn't have a chance to go down and score the game-winning field goal. That was more of a defensive shootout. I give the edge to Belichick. The second Super Bowl, gotta give the edge to Tom Brady. Bill Belichick's defense did not show up to play. They gave up 29 points to the Carolina Panthers. Tom Brady had one of his better Super Bowl performances. I give the edge to Tom Brady. The Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl back in 2004. I give Bill Belichick the credit for winning that Super Bowl, more so than Tom Brady. There were reports that the Eagles couldn't run their offense properly. Bill Belichick and his defense pretty much has sniffed out all their plays. A lot of people accuse the Patriots of cheating, but if you're going to accuse the Patriots of cheating and, really knowing the plays that the Eagles ran and really figured out their schemes on offense and really shutting that offense down, I give the credit to Bill Belichick because he's the defensive guru, okay? The fourth Super Bowl that the Patriots won together in regards to the Belichick and Brady era was versus Seattle, 28-24. I give the edge to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was down 10 points to the Legion of Boom. He played an excellent game versus a very good, really historically great defense in the Legion of Boom. I give the edge to Tom Brady in that regard. Let's look at the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl, where Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, were able to come back from down 28-3 to the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl and ultimately win 34-28. This might surprise some people. I give it a tie. Tom Brady was excellent in that game. He played a great second half, but also that second half comeback does not happen for Tom Brady if Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons continue to score points. Bill Belichick shut down the number 1 ranked offense that year in the Atlanta Falcons. He shut Matt Ryan down. You cannot complete a 28-3 comeback if the other team is scoring points. Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons virtually did nothing in the second half. Belichick shut them down. He deserves as much credit as Tom Brady. And last but not least, the Patriots beat the LA Rams, I believe 3 seasons ago in the Super Bowl, 13-3. Tom Brady did not play particularly well in that game. But that was the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history, I believe. That game was won 13-3 by the Patriots. I give Bill Belichick credit for shutting down the number 1 ranked Rams offense and limiting them to 3 points, only a field goal. Now, we just went over the Super Bowl wins. Let's go over the Super Bowl losses, okay? Who held their end of the bargain better in the losses? I'd actually say it's Tom Brady. In 2 of the 3 Super Bowls, Tom Brady played excellent. He played excellent versus the Eagles. He did more than enough to win that game. He played excellent versus the Giants in the second Super Bowl. He did more than enough to win that game. Obviously, in 2007, Tom Brady did not hold his end of the bargain as the number 1 scoring offense, I believe, maybe of all time. It was either the Broncos a couple of years ago or the Patriots in 2007 that the number 1 scoring offense of all time. Either way, the Patriots, they were setting records on offense. They could not be stopped. And Tom Brady in that offense in the Super Bowl, they did not show up, okay? Belichick's defense did show up in the first Super Bowl that the Patriots lost in the Tom Brady and Belichick era. Obviously, that's the David Tyree catch game where Eli Manning threw it up to David Tyree. He was excellent in the fourth quarter. But here's the thing, people. The Philadelphia Eagles lost in the Super Bowl where Nick Foles scored 41 points on Bill Belichick's defense. That opened my eyes up a little bit more. While Tom Brady did everything that he could to win that game. Was that loss on Tom Brady? No, it wasn't on Tom Brady. Tom Brady had 505 yards in that game passing, had 3 touchdown passes, scored 33 points. But why did Tom Brady lose that Super Bowl? Tom Brady lost that Super Bowl because his defense and his coaching staff let him down. And folks, that opened my eyes up because Tom Brady, he did everything he could to try to win that game, except he did fumble in the fourth quarter. He had one bad mistake. He made one mistake. He fumbled in the fourth quarter. That gave the Eagles that one stop that they needed to seal the game, okay? But other than that, Tom Brady was virtually flawless. But here's the thing, people. If it were not for Belichick and the coaching staff and the defense constantly bailing Tom Brady out, constantly giving him opportunities to score a bunch of points, is Tom Brady any better than Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so. Is he any better than Dan Marino? I don't think so. Is he any better than Drew Brees? Maybe. I think that he's more clutch than Drew Brees, but I'm not so sure. Is he any better than Eli Manning? Eli Manning did beat Tom Brady in 2 Super Bowls. Just wanted to throw that out there. Listen, people, Tom Brady is great. But if you think for 1 second that Bill Belichick could not win multiple Super Bowls and go on a big-time dynasty run with another, if you think Belichick could not do something similar to what he's done in New England with maybe an Aaron Rodgers, maybe a Peyton Manning, maybe a Steve Young, maybe a Drew Brees, you're mistaken. I mean, the guy won games with Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Castle, and Jacoby Brissett, people. He won 11 games with Matt Castle about a decade ago, okay? Could he win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? I believe so. Sean McVay got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. You mean to tell me Belichick can't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? I think he can. Could he win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford? I believe he can. Where's the proof that he can? Here's the thing, people. When Tom Brady came into the NFL, Tom Brady was not an elite quarterback right out the gate. He was a game manager for a long time that was big on third down. And Tom Brady obviously has 6 Super Bowls because he's an all-time great. And by the way, once 2007 came along, that's when most people realized, Tom Brady is more than a game manager. He's an MVP level quarterback. But for the first half of his career, when he won 3 Super Bowls, he was a game managing quarterback on third down. And do you want to know why Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings? Obviously because he's great and he's clutch, but also the reason Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings is because the team did not solely depend on Tom Brady's greatness. And how many times have we seen the Patriots just absolutely steal games from opponents because the defense, the running game, and the coaching staff were so excellent, the best in the biggest moments in the tightest games? How many times have we seen that, people? We've seen that so many times. We've seen the defense and the coaching staff and the running game bail Tom Brady out. Tom Brady scored 13 points in a Super Bowl and won. If Aaron Rodgers scores 13 points in a Super Bowl, if Drew Brees scores 13 points in a Super Bowl, if Dan Marino does that same thing, if Peyton Manning does the same thing, they're getting blown out. Tom Brady has the luxury to stink up the joint and still steal wins and steal Super Bowl victories away from these people because he has Bill Belichick, who's a defensive mastermind, one of the best defensive gurus of all time. And for what it's worth, Tom Brady in his 21-year career has had 17 top 10 defenses, 8 defenses that were ranked in the top 5. And guess what, people? Here's another fun fact. Only 5 times in 41 career playoff games has Bill Belichick surrendered 30 points or more. Do you want to know what Tom Brady's record in those 5 games is? Below 500. He's a below 500 quarterback when Bill Belichick's defense does not show up. Okay? So for all those reasons, people, I'm going to give the edge to Bill Belichick in regards to evaluating who was more responsible for the New England Patriots dynasty. Tom Brady's great. He's an all-time great, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. But the greatest quarterback of all time is not going to win 6 Super Bowls with Bill O'Brien as his head coach, okay? That's just not happening, okay? So in reality, Bill Belichick, not Tom Brady, is more responsible for the New England Patriots dynasty in which they won 6 Super Bowls during a 20-year stretch. All right, folks, I'm going to shift to something else right here. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is far and away right now the best quarterback in all football. I've been saying that for the last year. I've been saying Patrick Mahomes, he's the top dog. He's the man. I mean, he's got a rocket arm, quick release. He does not throw interceptions. He's a great leader. And for what it's worth, he just won the Super Bowl last year in only his 2nd full-time season as a starter. And I've been saying for a while, I believe that Patrick Mahomes one day can become the Michael Jordan of all of football. I believe he can become the Michael Jordan of football. I truly believe that. However, I also truly believe this. I believe Patrick Mahomes is getting a tad bit too much credit for the Kansas City Chiefs' success. I think Patrick Mahomes is getting way too much credit for the crazy machine that is the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? Here's the things I've been hearing about Patrick Mahomes as of late. Oh, look at Patrick Mahomes. No one can make the throws he's making. Oh, Patrick Mahomes, greatest quarterback of all time, most talented quarterback of all time. He's doing things we've never seen. He's the most talented quarterback of all time. And when I hear those things, I say to these people, did you watch Dan Marino in his prime? Did you watch Brett Favre in his prime? Did you watch John Elway? Have you been watching Aaron Rodgers? Have you seen a prime Aaron Rodgers compared to a prime Patrick Mahomes? Listen, those folks are just as talented, if not more talented, than Patrick Mahomes. So I don't want to hear, oh, Patrick Mahomes is making throws that we've never seen because, well, I've seen Brett Favre make some of the same throws that Patrick Mahomes has made. I've seen Aaron Rodgers do this for about a decade. Have you seen John Elway's arm? I'm just saying, people. And listen, we can all agree Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the NFL, probably right now due to the fact that Aaron Rodgers, he's great. He's still great. He might win the MVP this year, but he's 37 years old, not quite as nimble and not quite as young as one Patrick Mahomes. And for what it's worth, Russell Wilson, he's great, but not quite on Patrick Mahomes' level from a talent perspective. Here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes has the best supporting cast at his disposal in the entire NFL, and it's not even close. Not even close, people. And here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions versus the Miami Dolphins this past week. A very good defense, and his team still found a way to win the game. If Deshaun Watson throws 3 interceptions in a game, the Houston Texans are getting blown out. Same thing with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Same thing with Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. Patrick Mahomes has the luxury of having an off game and still being able to beat good competition. You want to know why? Because he has the best supporting cast in the entire NFL. Patrick Mahomes can afford to throw a pass a little bit high to Travis Kelce, but he knows Travis Kelce is going to snag that football and come down with it. He has a, margin for error when he throws the football to a Sammy Watkins or a Tyreek Hill or a Mecole Hardman because he knows they're gonna stretch out and they're gonna make those plays for him even if the ball is about 3 inches behind the wide receiver, okay? Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to play perfect for the Chiefs to win football games, okay? And the machine that is the Kansas City Chiefs that's led by Patrick Mahomes also has Andy Reid, one of the 3 best head coaches in the entire NFL. You mean to tell me he doesn't have an influence on Patrick Mahomes? What would Patrick Mahomes be doing if Mike McCarthy or Bill O'Brien or Anthony Lynn was his head coach right now, or Adam Gase? He would not be winning as many games as you think. Patrick Mahomes benefits from having a great offensive line that allows him to stay in that pocket and deliver them darts down the field. He's got Tyreek Hill, the fastest player and the most feared wide receiver in all of pro football. He's a top 5 wide receiver, easily, not even close, undisputedly. He's the most feared wide receiver in the entire NFL. He may not run routes like Julio Jones or Devontae Adams, but defensive coordinators are terrified of Tyreek Hill because you can't cover the guy. He's just so fast. It sometimes doesn't matter what you do. He'll just run right by you. Travis Kelce, the guy has amazing hands. He's the best tight end in all football. And anytime Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, and Demarcus Robinson are the other wide receivers you're throwing to, man, is life easy for you. The Kansas City Chiefs make life easy for Patrick Mahomes, okay? And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell, they're 2 really good running backs. Did I mention the Kansas City Chiefs have a top 10 defense led by Steve Spagnuolo, a very good defensive coordinator? They're 8th right now in points per game allowed. Did I not mention the fact that Patrick Mahomes did not play very well for 3.5 quarters in the Super Bowl, but the defense bailed him out? These dudes that Patrick Mahomes is throwing to at times are wide open. He can just throw a 3-yard pass at Tyreek Hill, and boom, he's to the house, people, okay? And like I said earlier about Tom Brady and the New England Patriots back when he was with the Patriots, what allowed Tom Brady to win multiple Super Bowls back in New England is the New England Patriots did not solely rely on Tom Brady's greatness. And that's the same thing in regards to the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. They're not solely dependent on Patrick Mahomes, and his greatness. They have other great players around them, okay? And last year when Patrick Mahomes got hurt, the Kansas City Chiefs nearly defeated the Green Bay Packers, a team that went all the way to the NFC title game. They defeated the Minnesota Vikings, a 10-win playoff team. Without Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and this coaching staff and this supporting cast is more than comparable enough to win anywhere from 8 to 9 to maybe 10 games with an average Joe at quarterback. If you can plug in a Case Keenum to the system and he'll win games for you. Case Keenum got to an NFC title game a couple of years ago with a talented roster. How valuable is Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great talent, but he's not as valuable to his team as one Aaron Rodgers or one Deshaun Watson or one Russell Wilson, because if you take those players away from their respective teams, their team is garbage. If you take Patrick Mahomes away from the Kansas City Chiefs, you still got Andy Reid, you still got those great weapons, you still got a top 10 defense, you still got a very good general manager in Brett Veach who will put good players on the field for you. He's playing for a very stable organization, and he's playing on the best roster in all of football, folks. Keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes inherited a 12-win Kansas City Chiefs team. Alex Smith, who looks like an average quarterback in Washington, he looks like an MVP candidate throwing to the same weapons that Patrick Mahomes was throwing to. He won 12 games with the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? You mean to tell me if the Kansas City Chiefs have Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, maybe a Justin Herbert, maybe even a Joe Burrow, maybe even a Matthew Stafford or a Jared Goff? Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. You mean to tell me they're not going to fall? You mean to tell me they're going to fall off with those quarterbacks? They may not be as good as they are right now with Patrick Mahomes running the ship, because what Patrick Mahomes gives you is a premium over most players. Outside of maybe Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes allows you to do more things than you're capable of doing with an average quarterback. His premium and his height are extremely high, okay? But at the same time, it's not like the Kansas City Chiefs are going to fall off if they have an average Joe at quarterback. They may not be a Super Bowl contender, but you can still win games with that roster. Here's the thing, people. Let's go back and think about some things. Patrick Mahomes, if he was drafted by the Chicago Bears, would he be throwing 50 touchdown passes in a season? I don't think so. If he's drafted to the Houston Texans and he has to deal with Bill O'Brien as his head coach to start his career, like Deshaun Watson had to deal with, is he going to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. Bill O'Brien continued to get in the way of Deshaun Watson's success. And let's not forget, in that Super Bowl versus the San Francisco 49ers, Patrick Mahomes had the worst passer rating in Super Bowl history for a Super Bowl MVP. So look, folks, all I'm saying is, look, Patrick Mahomes, he's great, he's sensational, but I think that Patrick Mahomes is getting just a tad bit too much credit for running the show in Kansas City. Oftentimes, quarterbacks get way too much credit for when the team succeeds, and they get way too much blame when the team loses, okay? In this case, I believe Patrick Mahomes is getting just a little bit too much credit for the Kansas City Chiefs' success. I believe his weapons, along with Andy Reid and that great infrastructure, deserves more credit and more shine than we are willing to admit, okay? So, Aaron Rodgers is obviously having an unbelievable year in 2020. Right now, he leads the NFL in touchdown passes, leads the NFL in passer rating. He's been able to win games and put up great numbers despite Davante Adams missing time due to injury, despite Allen Lazard missing time due to injury. Same thing with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He's turning Robert Tonyan into one of the better tight ends in all of football. And listen, people, after Davante Adams, who else really is Aaron Rodgers throwing to? Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown, Robert Tonyan. Don't get me wrong, they played pretty good this year, but they're not going to be starting caliber players on some other teams' rosters, okay? I don't think Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to be starting for many more contending teams in the NFL this year, okay? Same thing with Allen Lazard, same thing with St. Brown. These guys are good complementary pieces, but they're not wide receivers or tight ends that defensive coordinators think of and say, oh, man, I got to stop Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I got to stop Robert Tonyan. I got to stop Allen Lazard because they're so scary. They're such threats. I don't think so. Aaron Rodgers very well could win the NFL MVP this year. Right now, it's a two-man race to the finish between him and Patrick Mahomes. We'll see who wins that award. As of today, Aaron Rodgers gets my vote, but there seems to be something different about Aaron Rodgers. A couple of years ago, it was pretty obvious in Green Bay that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers were sort of an odd fit. It was kind of that way from the jump because one is kind of an average Joe, and the other is elite at their position. Mike McCarthy, right now today, he's an average head coach at best, and Aaron Rodgers, he's been an elite quarterback for the last 9 to 10 years. He's been that good for the last 9 to 10 years. He's elite, he's excellent, and it's pretty obvious that Mike McCarthy needed Aaron Rodgers more so than Aaron Rodgers needed Mike McCarthy. Think about this, people. Let's say Mike McCarthy gets fired immediately for whatever reason as the Dallas Cowboys head coach right now. Let's say Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason, right now today, he is cut by the Green Bay Packers. Who's going to be the more sought-after commodity, Mike McCarthy or Aaron Rodgers? There's going to be a ton of teams lined up wanting to get Aaron Rodgers. Mike McCarthy last year, he couldn't get a job when a bunch of head coaches were, getting a bunch of jobs. And based on the way he's looking in Dallas, I don't think a whole lot of people are high on Mike McCarthy in today's NFL, okay? Have you ever had a friend that is dating someone and you think to yourself, man, my friend, he or she, they could do a whole lot better. She's a 6 and he's a 10. Or you think he's a 6 and she's a 10, That's kind of how I thought about Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, he's kind of an average Joe, nothing special. He's got some experience. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers, he's a rock star. He's that iPhone 10. He's the iPhone X because you can do so many things with Aaron Rodgers. He can throw on the run. He can run outside the pocket. He can throw the deep ball very well. He's got a strong arm. Aaron Rodgers, he's a complete package, maybe outside of one Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, Aaron Rodgers is having a better year than Patrick Mahomes despite having less around him, okay? And Aaron Rodgers, over time, it was pretty clear that he grew unhappy with Mike McCarthy because Mike McCarthy did not evolve as a play caller. At times, Mike McCarthy became way too lazy. According to some reports, he was thinking about getting massages instead of going to team meetings. And Aaron Rodgers, he's always kind of had a grudge with Mike McCarthy from the jump just because back in 2005, when Aaron Rodgers dropped in that draft, a lot of people thought Aaron Rodgers would go number one overall. Alex Smith went number 1 overall. And guess who was on the 49ers coaching staff? Guess who was the 49ers offensive coordinator back in 2005? And guess who had a big-time influence in selecting the mighty Alex Smith over that bad man, Aaron Rodgers? It was Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy had a lot to do with the 49ers passing on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he's always held that grudge that, man, Mike McCarthy didn't want me in 2005, okay? And it's been pretty obvious that since Mike McCarthy has been fired and since Matt LaFleur has arrived in Green Bay, this Packers team is totally different, and we're getting a much more rejuvenated and much more happy and much more fun Aaron Rodgers, okay? First of all, the team's better. Like I said, the team, since Matt LaFleur has taken over, is 23-6 through the first 29 games. It seems like Matt LaFleur has gained Aaron Rodgers. He's gained Aaron Rodgers' respect. He's gained Aaron Rodgers' trust. And Aaron Rodgers, a lot of the time, would audible out of Mike McCarthy's plays just because he basically put a little middle finger to Mike McCarthy and said, hey, man, listen, your play calls stink. I ain't running these plays. I'm just going to throw the ball out of bounds. He did that a lot. He audible out of Mike McCarthy's plays a lot. He did not trust the play call, and he virtually said, I'm going to do my own thing. When it comes to Matt LaFleur, he trusts Matt LaFleur's scheme, and Matt LaFleur's scheme is much more better than what Mike McCarthy was running as he continued to be the Green Bay Packers head coach. Matt LaFleur comes from the Mike Shanahan tree. He learned under Mike Shanahan back in Washington. It's basically a zone run. It's basically a scheme in which there's a lot of zone runs, and it incorporates the West Coast concepts in the passing game, okay? And now you're seeing Aaron Rodgers plus a deadly scheme. That's hard to stop because we all know that Aaron Rodgers is super talented, but when you combine wide receivers running wide open, a bunch of motion, a bunch of creative schemes that gets these players involved, in a much more creative way than what Mike McCarthy was willing to kind of tailor his offense to, when you're just not relying on the talent, when you're actually, scheming these guys open, man, oh man, Aaron Rodgers, he's the league MVP, and it's not even close, okay? Aaron Rodgers is a lot more loose nowadays. And also, last year, despite Aaron Rodgers getting to the NFC title game, the Green Bay Packers, they decided to draft his replacement, Jordan Love, in a year where Aaron Rodgers goes all the way to the NFC title game, is one game away from the Super Bowl. And you would think Green Bay would say, okay, Aaron Rodgers, let's continue to add to this roster. Let's help you out. Let's get you another wide receiver. Let's maybe help out the defense, because the 49ers, they just ran all over us. They didn't do that. They said, nope, Aaron Rodgers, he might be over the hill. We're worried about his injuries. We're worried about his lack of great play. We're going to draft your replacement. And at that point, Aaron Rodgers basically said, hey, Green Bay Packers organization, screw you. Watch this. I ain't going anywhere. I'm just going to ball out, and I'm going to make you people look stupid, because either way you slice it, right now today, the Green Bay Packers look dumb for drafting Jordan Love over Aaron Rodgers, just because Aaron Rodgers, it looks like he has about 4 to 5 more great seasons left in him. Why would you draft a quarterback? And Jordan Love, again, I'm hopeful for his future. I believe he has a big-time arm. He's a little bit raw, but he has some talent. He cannot beat out Tim Boyle right now. Right now, Jordan Love, the first-round pick the Green Bay Packers trade up to get, he's a third-string quarterback right now. He cannot beat out Tim Boyle. Do you people even know who Tim Boyle is? You probably are just now hearing about Tim Boyle because I mentioned the guy to you. He's that bad of a quarterback. He's that irrelevant, okay? And Aaron Rodgers, here's the thing. He knows the clock is ticking. He knows, man, Green Bay, they're thinking I'm washed up. I'm no more good. And listen, I've only got about 4 to 5, maybe 6 years left of great play. I need to start winning some Super Bowls. I need to get back to the Super Bowl because it's been a decade since I've won one. It's not been my fault more than likely. I said that wrong. It's not been my fault most times. My defense has let me down. My offensive line has not blocked well at times. The coaching staff has let me down, but I see Aaron Rodgers going out his way to make the play to win the game. Okay, a long time ago, Aaron Rodgers, he would put the ball in the hands of his field goal kicker. He would say, I've got you in position, make the field goal. And sometimes the field goal kicker would mess up. What Aaron Rodgers is doing is he's going out his way to leave no doubt that, hey, I'm going to 100% do my part. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The organization is going to have to answer questions as to why we're not winning games. Because last year, Aaron Rodgers, he had a good season in 2019, but not a great season by his lofty standards. For what it's worth, 26 touchdowns to 4 interceptions and 96 pass rating. That's darn good. But we know Aaron Rodgers is better than that. We know he's great. Aaron Rodgers, he's basically saying, hey, I'm going to go out here and look like the league MVP, and I'm going to make my organization look stupid. And there's just something different about Aaron Rodgers. He seems motivated. He seems ticked off. He seems like it's him versus the world. And I truly believe that motivation, that added chip on his shoulder, is going to propel Aaron Rodgers to winning a second Super Bowl, maybe a third Super Bowl down the road, because Green Bay, they're a very good team right now. I believe Aaron Rodgers is at least going to get another Super Bowl before it's all said and done, because he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's finally found the right head coach for him. He seems happy. He seems rejuvenated. And ultimately, this is a different Aaron Rodgers going forward. And also, Aaron Rodgers' leadership has been off the charts. The way he's handled Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Robert Tonyan, the young wide receivers, him mentoring Jordan Love. It's a different Aaron Rodgers, people, and that's a scary sight for the entire NFL because Aaron Rodgers, he was already lethal, and despite being 37 years old, it seems like Aaron Rodgers, as time is going on, he's becoming even more lethal as we speak today. I want to now talk about Daniel Jones and the New York Football Giants. Giants fans, I hate to tell you this, but it's the honest truth. Daniel Jones, right now, as I speak today in 2020, he is a below average starting quarterback. That's just the facts. I was not a huge fan of the Giants selecting Daniel Jones with the number 6 overall pick. I looked at him when I watched him play at Duke and I said, that does not look like a 6 overall pick. That does not look like a top 10 pick. He had an average arm, wasn't all that dynamic. I wasn't all that sold, okay? And we're 24 starts into his career, and once again, up to this date, I'm still not sold. I'm just not. Now, can Daniel Jones turn things around? Yes, it's possible. I do think that the Giants, if they're smart, they should go out and get him a number 1 wide receiver in the offseason. Darius Slayton's pretty good. Evan Ingram, while he has his inconsistencies, he's pretty good when he gets open, but when you look at the Giants offense, there's no Saquon Barkley this year. The offensive line is very hit and miss, and for what it's worth, I don't think the wide receiver core is all that dynamic, but definitely help if you get Daniel Jones another wide receiver to really help him out. That would definitely help out this offense. The Giants are an improved team, but it's mainly due to the coaching staff and the defense, not the offense. So, listen, there could be a situation where if the Giants put more talent around Daniel Jones, he could really pop off and become a franchise quarterback, and listen, it's been a tough year for these young quarterbacks, Daniel Jones had to learn a whole new system. It's been a crazy year and a pandemic year, okay? He's had to learn a whole new system, like I said, and the team around him is kind of hit and miss. The supporting cast around him is not the greatest. And for what it's worth, he could turn things around because the coaching staff, they believe in the guy. Apparently, they say he works very hard. He's got a great work ethic, and he's got some mobility to his game, and that's very key in today's NFL, okay? But, folks, we can't continue to make excuses because Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are rookies. They had to learn they had to learn a new system. They're rookies in the NFL, shredding the NFL apart. Justin Herbert, he's been amazing this year. Joe Burrow, he's been amazing. What is Daniel Jones' excuse? Deshaun Watson. While Daniel Jones is not on Deshaun Watson's level, but, if you're a franchise quarterback and if you're a guy going forward that the Giants are going to eventually have to pay a bunch of money to, you're going to start looking like a franchise quarterback. And listen, Deshaun Watson, he hasn't wavered despite having a bad team around him. Teddy Bridgewater, he's winning games with the Carolina Panthers. They're not a great team. Jalen Hurts, we saw last game. The Eagles, they have a bad offensive line. Their best wide receiver is Jalen Reagor. The coaching staff is inept at times. He goes out and beats the New Orleans Saints in his first ever start. If you have it, you have it. Either you have it or you don't. I don't think Daniel Jones has that special sauce to be a legitimate franchise quarterback. And listen, I know what you Giants fans are probably saying. You're probably saying, how dare you call Daniel Jones below average? You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Giants fans, fine. Let's play a little game right here. I want you Giants fans or you Daniel Jones apologists to name me the current starting quarterbacks that Daniel Jones is better than. Because that list is either very short or does not exist. Sam Darnold? Maybe. I'd probably lean towards Daniel Jones. He showed me a little bit more in the pros so far. Mitchell Trubisky? Maybe. Trubisky won 12 games 2 seasons ago. He was a field goal kick away from winning a playoff game, but you can maybe convince me that Daniel Jones is better than Mitchell Trubisky. Drew Lock. Drew Lock has struggled this year. I'd probably lean towards Daniel Jones. So we're at 3 quarterbacks right now. Alex Smith, maybe. I say Alex Smith is more accurate. He's better at reading defenses. He's a better leader. I'd probably lean towards Alex Smith, but you can say Daniel Jones is maybe better. Carson Wentz. He's looked awful this year. I still take Carson Wentz over Daniel Jones just because Carson Wentz is just much more talented than Daniel Jones. And he's having a bad year. This might be an anomaly. Last year, Carson Wentz was playing like a top 10 quarterback. He could return to that form next year, maybe with a fresh start. But folks, I named you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks. Who else is Daniel Jones better than that's starting in the NFL right now? Not many quarterbacks. He's just not that good, okay? And when I evaluate Daniel Jones, here's what I see. I see a guy that has terrible pocket presence. I see a guy that has a hit-and-miss deep ball. I see a good athlete, but he hesitates to run at times. He doesn't really have a great feel for the game. You know, there are lanes open for him to run, but for whatever reason, he just doesn't want to run. I don't know why he's so timid to run. He's got an average arm, and up to this point, he can't stay healthy. Last year, he had an injury late in the season, and this year, he's hobbling to the finish line once again. And Daniel Jones is a quarterback that is consistently inconsistent. For his career so far, we're 24 starts in. That's a big enough sample size to evaluate him, okay? He's got 35 total touchdowns and 24 career starts. That's not bad, but when you factor in the fact that Daniel Jones has 46 turnovers to go along with those 35 touchdowns, that's a problem. It is, people. Daniel Jones is a poor man's Jameis Winston. He's Jameis Winston with a worse arm, people. And Jameis Winston right now, you know what he is? He's a backup quarterback. Everyone kept saying, oh, if we get more around Jameis Winston, if we keep building the roster, Jameis will get it one day. Jameis will get it one day. He'll get it one day. We're 6 years into Jameis' career. He's a backup. He could not fix his turnover issues. And I don't know if Daniel Jones' biggest issues are salvageable. I don't see it. I don't think Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. I just look at the guy and I see, he's okay. A big reason why I'm not a huge Daniel Jones fan is simply because the good side of Daniel Jones is not great enough for me to be okay with his bad side. Okay? You know, because here's the thing. Daniel Jones' high moments are good. They're not great. Okay? When I compare him to other quarterbacks in the NFL, obviously not close to Patrick Mahomes, not close to Deshaun Watson, not close to Russell Wilson, not close to Aaron Rodgers. Heck, even to this day, despite their older age, you know, he's not close to Tom Brady, not close to Drew Brees. When I look at Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback, I see special. Lamar Jackson, I see special. Kyler Murray, I see special. Joe Burrow, I see special. Justin Herbert, I see special. Tua Tagovailoa. I've been hard on Tua Tagovailoa this year. I'm not all the way in on Tua Tagovailoa, but what I see in Tua Tagovailoa is consistency. A guy that does not make mistakes. The one thing I know about Tua is he's accurate and he doesn't make a whole bunch of mistakes. Daniel Jones, at times his accuracy down the field is hit and miss, and he makes a ton of mistakes. And Baker Mayfield even looks more special than Daniel Jones. Right now, I take Baker Mayfield over Daniel Jones in a heartbeat. There are plenty of quarterbacks starting right now in the NFL, and there are plenty of college quarterbacks that are going to be entering the NFL this upcoming year. Guys like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Keaton Slovis next year. Those guys can make the same throws that Daniel Jones can make, minus the turnovers. 24 games in, I'm not sold on the guy Daniel Jones. I'm just not. He's going to get another year because the Giants, they're not in position to draft another quarterback, you know, that's at least, you know, elite. Zach Wilson's good, but not great to me. Trey Lance, you know, you're kind of banking on his potential, not what he is right now. And you're not in position to get a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence unless you're willing to trade up and give up massive draft capital and some of your good young players. I'm not sure the Giants are willing to do that. I know for a fact that Dave Gettleman does not want to move on from Daniel Jones because, well, if Dave Gettleman gives up on Daniel Jones, then the Giants have every reason to give up on Dave Gettleman. You want to know why? Because Dave Gettleman, he drafted Daniel Jones. So he's going to get another year. He could prove me wrong next year, but I'm not sold. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones being a long-term franchise quarterback. I'm just not. And I think Daniel Jones right now is a poor man's Jameis Winston. He's Jameis Winston with a worse arm. And right now, to this day, Daniel Jones is a below average starting quarterback that is holding back the New York Football Giants. Imagine if Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert were on the Giants roster right now with that defense, with that coaching staff. This team would be above 500. But Daniel Jones is the weak link. He is holding the New York Giants back. And for all those reasons, I believe Daniel Jones is a below average starting quarterback as I speak today in 2020. So let's transition to the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts started his first ever game in the NFL back in Week 14, which was last week of the 2020 NFL season, and he got the start versus the New Orleans Saints, one of the best teams in all of football. The Philadelphia Eagles got the victory 24-21. It was a great win for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are not having a great season as a whole. Realistically, Philadelphia is still in the race to win the NFC East, but let's be real, people. This is kind of a lost season. The team could win the division, it's possible, but they're not much of a playoff threat. The team right now is 4-8-1. I thought Philadelphia could win about 10 games this year. Obviously, I was wrong, but I gotta say, Jalen Hurts, he played very well in that game. Obviously, Miles Sanders played very well, had 115 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. The defense for the Philadelphia Eagles stepped up versus a very good New Orleans Saints offense. Obviously, Drew Brees did not play, but Taysom Hill, he was playing pretty well heading into the game. They neutralized Taysom Hill. They neutralized Alvin Kamara. The defense played great. But the story of the game was Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. And Jalen Hurts versus the New Orleans Saints in his first ever NFL start, he looked like a legitimate franchise quarterback. He was making very good decisions. He threw the ball accurately down the field. He wasn't afraid to take shots down the field. He was pushing the football down the field. He didn't turn the football over. He ran the football effectively. He had 18 carries for 106 yards. He provided a spark to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know the stats aren't great if you just look at the statistics for Jalen Hurts. 17 for 30, 167 yards, 1 touchdown pass. That's not great if you actually look at the statistics. And for what it's worth, Jalen Hurts, if he wants to succeed long-term in the NFL, he's going to have to make more big boy throws consistently from the pocket if he wants to continue to become a legitimate starter. That's without a doubt in my mind. But based on the circumstances that Jalen Hurts was dealing with, and based on the roster that he has been dealt with, and based on the fact that it was his first ever NFL start, if I were to grade Jalen Hurts' performance, I gotta give the guy an A. I give Jalen Hurts an A performance versus the New Orleans Saints. Folks, Jalen Hurts' offensive line is not very good. His best wide receiver is Jalen Reagor. His first ever start was versus a top 5 defense in New Orleans. And New Orleans, they very well could win the Super Bowl this year. That's your first ever NFL start, and you performed that well under pressure? Man, I gotta say, Jalen Hurts, he played great. And a couple of weeks ago, I said that former number 2 overall pick Carson Wentz needed to be benched in favor of Jalen Hurts. I know a lot of Eagles fans gave me a lot of flack, but guess what, people? As of today, I've been proven right. I've won the battle so far. You want to know why? Because all the Carson Wentz fanboys talked about was the offensive line is so bad. Oh, Doug Peterson, he's holding Carson Wentz back. Woe is me for Carson Wentz. Oh, the wide receivers, they can't create separation. Carson Wentz has no chance. He can't succeed. Boo-hoo-hoo. Well, people, those excuses that the Philadelphia Eagles fans and that Carson Wentz fanboys were making for him, those excuses are slowly running out. You want to know why? Because guess what? Jalen Hurts, with the same exact roster, with the same supporting cast, with the same coaching staff that Carson Wentz has been struggling with, he just beat one of the best teams in the entire NFL in his first ever start in the NFL. Folks, Carson Wentz couldn't beat the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are not a good football team. They're awful. They're a 2-win football team. They're probably going to be picking top 3 in the draft. Carson Wentz could not beat them early in the season. He tied with the Cincinnati Bengals at home. Folks, Carson Wentz was clearly the problem for the Philadelphia Eagles. It wasn't Doug Peterson. It wasn't Howie Roseman. Sure, the offensive line and the wide receiver core, leave some things to be desired. Sure, Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman had their flaws, but folks, Carson Wentz played himself out of a job. Did Deshaun Watson fold under pressure despite playing for a bad team this year? Has Joe Burrow folded? Has Justin Herbert folded? Those guys are playing on bad rosters right now. Carson Wentz played himself out of this job, and Carson Wentz was not executing the Philadelphia Eagles offense. He was turning the football over. He was missing throws. He was holding on to the football way too long, and you could have made the argument that Carson Wentz was the worst starting quarterback in 2020 up to the point in which he was benched. And Jalen Hurts, he was executing the Philadelphia Eagles offense. It's not even like Jalen Hurts went out there and threw for 300 yards. He was just executing the offense, but the bar was set so low because Carson Wentz was so bad. Jalen Hurts looks amazing. And by the way, I do think that Jalen Hurts looked like a legitimate franchise quarterback. I do believe the habits that he displayed can be repeated. He's got good mechanics. He throws a very catchable ball. His deep ball is good enough. It's not great, but it's okay. He throws an accurate football. He can run around. He can extend plays. He has a great feel inside the pocket, and let's be real. He throws with a nice touch as well. He's got a good enough arm, not a great arm, but a good enough arm to make the NFL throws. And what Jalen Hurts has that Carson Wentz doesn't seem to have is that it factor. Folks, when can we just admit the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles supporting cast played better when Nick Foles was the starter and not Carson Wentz? They went all the way to the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Carson Wentz in 2018, below 500, Nick Foles comes in to save the day. The Eagles are a Alshon Jeffrey drop pass away from the NFC title game. How come when Jalen Hurts and Nick Foles enter the game, the Philadelphia Eagles roster all of a sudden is rejuvenated? They're galvanized. They play with a certain swagger. How come Carson Wentz, who has such raw talent, cannot bring out that in the Philadelphia Eagles? You want to know why? It's because Carson Wentz, he does not have that it factor. He does not have great leadership intangibles. Some guys have it. Some guys just don't have it. And Carson Wentz, he could develop and get better at those things over time. But right now, Jalen Hurts, he's the best option going forward for the Philadelphia Eagles. And as Jalen Hurts continues to play well, the Carson Wentz era in Philadelphia is going to be over sooner rather than later. So again, I'm not going to anoint Jalen Hurts as the next great quarterback. Not trying to do that. He definitely has a lot more to prove. It'll be a big test this week versus Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. The Eagles have a chance to win the division. Will they win the division? Maybe, maybe not. We shall see. A lot of football still left to be played, but it's pretty obvious that Jalen Hurts, he's got some special stuff, and it seems like Jalen Hurts has the it factor that Carson Wentz does not have. And the bottom line is that Jalen Hurts looked like a legitimate franchise quarterback in his first ever start versus the New Orleans Saints. He did some good things, no doubt about it. I now want to shift to Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback right now. Josh Allen in 2020 has been having a great season. Right now it's pretty clear to me that Aaron Rodgers is in the lead for NFL MVP right now. I'd say Patrick Mahomes is a very close second. But right behind those two guys, those two quarterbacks are playing better than anyone else right now. Right behind those two quarterbacks right now, as far as if I were to give out an MVP vote, I go 1 Aaron Rodgers, 2 Patrick Mahomes. Number 3 to me right now today is Josh Allen. He's been playing that good of football in 2020. Josh Allen right now, through 13 games, his team is 10-3 on the season. Buffalo could win anywhere from 12 to 13 games, so he's winning football games. That's great. But also, Josh Allen is on pace to complete 68% of his passes. He's on pace to throw for 34 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and he's got a pass rate on pace to be well over 100. Josh Allen has been playing great this year. Not to mention, so far on the year, he's had 350 yards rushing on the ground, along with 6 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen does not get enough credit for how good of a runner of the football he is at the quarterback position. And Josh Allen really has developed into a totally different quarterback in 2020. In his first 2 years in the NFL, he was wildly inaccurate. He could not make certain throws. He couldn't throw the ball consistently with touch down the field. He was always a solid decision maker. He would always make the right reads, but it just was, man, this guy's not accurate enough to be a consistent franchise quarterback. He needs to be more accurate. He needs to take advantage of these open wide receivers. He always had a strong arm. He's got the strongest arm in the entire NFL right now, in my opinion. I think that Patrick Mahomes can throw the football further than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen can throw the ball a little bit harder than Patrick Mahomes. So I kind of went with the guy that has more velocity to his throws. Not to mention, Josh Allen can throw the football down the field very far as well. But that's not the point. It's very clear that Josh Allen has worked very hard to fix his accuracy issues, okay? His mechanics are much more improved this year. And as of today, as of right now, I believe Josh Allen is a top 10 quarterback in all football. And I'm going to say that with my chest. I'm confident that Josh Allen is a franchise quarterback. And I'm confident he's top 10 at his position right now. What do I see from Josh Allen? I see a guy that has a big-time arm, the strongest arm in the entire NFL. He can make all the throws. He can fit the ball into the tiniest of windows. He's a very good athlete. He's very good at moving inside the pocket. He's very good at shrugging off defenders. He plays very similar to how Ben Roethlisberger played at a very young age. He sort of reminds me of a young Ben Roethlisberger, the way he plays. Ben was a little bit more accurate, but, Josh Allen, he's kind of playing like a poor man's Ben Roethlisberger to a certain degree. He throws a great deep ball, and according to his coaches, he's got a great work ethic, unbelievable work ethic, and it shows because that guy at Wyoming, Josh Allen, when he was coming out of Wyoming, he was not the most accurate passer, but you have to credit Josh Allen for working hard, developing his skills, and developing himself into a top 10 quarterback in the NFL because he definitely is that right now. He deserves a ton of credit. But I also want to give a big shout out to the Buffalo Bills coaching staff and the Buffalo Bills organization for believing in Josh Allen and for developing him properly and for putting a great team around him. Sean McDermott is one of the best head coaches in all football. He doesn't get enough credit for his success in Buffalo. Brian Daboll, he's one of the best offensive coordinators in the entire NFL. Him and Sean McDermott have definitely helped out Josh Allen's development. And honestly, I know Brian Daboll's going to get some head coaching looks this year, but if you're the Buffalo Bills, if you need to spend a little bit of extra money to keep Brian Daboll as your offensive coordinator, do it because he's worth the money. It's working. Josh Allen is a good quarterback because of Brian Daboll. Maybe not because of Brian Daboll, but I do think that Brian Daboll schemes, the play calling, the familiarity of Brian Daboll to Josh Allen is definitely helping out Josh Allen right now, okay? I just wanted to preference that and kind of correct my words right there. So yeah, if you can keep Brian Daboll, if you need to overpay him, do it. But also, Brandon Beane, the Buffalo Bills general manager, has put an excellent team around Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills roster is really good. They have a great offensive line. They've got a really good wide receiver core. They spent some money in free agency last year to go out and get John Brown and Cole Beasley. This year they trade for Stephon Diggs. Coincidentally, it's been Josh Allen's best season. You finally got him a legitimate top 10 number one wide receiver. Right now, Stephon Diggs, he's great. You got 2 really good running backs. The defense is excellent. And I always kind of hate to see, really good organizations or even poorly run organizations give up on very talented quarterbacks. I can understand why a team like the Arizona Cardinals moved on from Josh Rosen because, well, Josh Rosen, he's just not very good. He was very overrated as a prospect, even back to his UCLA days. He's not accurate. He can't move around. He's just got an average arm. He's got no intangibles. And if you could take Kyler Murray, go ahead and do it. So I understand if you're an organization and you look at a quarterback and you say, he's a lost cause. He doesn't have the intangibles, doesn't have the arm talent, doesn't have the accuracy, does not have the mobility. He's no good. Let's get rid of him. But if you have a talented quarterback like Josh Allen, don't give up on him. At least give him a puncher's chance to succeed. And shout out to the Buffalo Bills for one, drafting Josh Allen, because a lot of people criticized that pick at the time. I was kind of wait and see with it, you know. I felt Josh Allen could become a good quarterback. I just wanted to kind of see how he developed over time. But yeah, man, shout out to the Buffalo Bills. They gave Josh Allen the appropriate amount of time to properly develop, and they put a good team around him. So Josh Allen, he's rewarded the Buffalo Bills who's put a good team around him and who have properly developed him. Josh Allen, he's a top 10 quarterback right now. He could very well become a top 5 quarterback as early as next season, in my opinion. He's great. He's excellent. He's a franchise quarterback. I definitely, invest in Josh Allen if I have the chance to. I would not sell my Josh Allen stock. I would buy some more if I were someone, investing in who's going to be the next great quarterback. Outside of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson in the AFC, who's a better quarterback than Josh Allen in that conference? You cannot name me a better quarterback outside of Mahomes and Watson in the AFC right now. Okay, so yeah, Josh Allen, he's the real deal. Shout out to him for developing properly, and shout out to the Buffalo Bills for developing Josh Allen and putting a good team around them, because Josh Allen has 100% rewarded them for their great work. I now want to talk about Baker Mayfield. I'm a big believer in Baker Mayfield as of right now. I believe in the guy. I believed in Baker Mayfield when he was at Oklahoma. I said that he should have been the number 1 overall pick in that draft. Now, obviously, if you're looking back on that draft, well, it's pretty obvious that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen today are better quarterbacks than Baker Mayfield. Not going to dispute that. But I will say, I don't think Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson were ready to come in day number 1 and deal with the dysfunctional and not very good 0-16 Cleveland Browns. Because keep in mind, Baker Mayfield inherited an 0-16 football team, a team that won 0 games the year before he got there. 0 wins, 16 losses. And listen, Baker Mayfield was asked to play early and often as a rookie, and we've seen the Cleveland Browns in the past when they were dysfunctional. They're no longer dysfunctional, in my opinion, but we've seen in the past when the Cleveland Browns were at their worst, when they were a dysfunctional organization, they tended to bail on quarterbacks very early, as well as head coaches. Bad organizations think that if they just get rid of the quarterback very quickly, if they just get rid of the head coach very quickly, if they just make 1 or 2 quick fixes, it solves everything. That's what bad organizations do. They move on from their employees and their players way too quickly instead of trusting the process, because they think everything's a quick fix. And if you think for 1 second that Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen were ready to come in day number 1 and contribute at a high level on the Cleveland Browns roster with that coaching staff, with that infrastructure, with that team's history, it could have happened maybe, but it's not crazy to think that if Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen struggled early, Cleveland probably would have bailed on them, okay? So I think that when you look at the grand scheme of things, sure, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are better right now than Baker Mayfield, but they went to good teams with good organizations. Baker Mayfield, he's had to turn around this Cleveland Browns organization. So in the grand scheme of things, yes, Baker Mayfield probably wasn't the right pick, but at the same time, he was the right pick, if that makes sense, okay? We're 3 years removed from that pick, and we're the Cleveland Browns. Right now, they're a 9-4 football team. They're going to finish anywhere from 10 to 11 wins on the season. They're going to make the playoffs, and Baker Mayfield in his third season in the NFL, is playing the best football of his career, and he looks like a franchise quarterback. He really does. The last few weeks, Baker Mayfield has had his two best games, in my opinion, as a pro. He dominated the Tennessee Titans. He played a nearly flawless game. And despite losing to the Baltimore Ravens, it's pretty clear to see Baker Mayfield outplay Lamar Jackson in that game. He put up 42 points. He was unbelievable. He was making great throw after great throw on the run, from the pocket, deep ball, you name it. Baker Mayfield, he's been playing excellent football. He's really starting to come into his own. And it's pretty clear that Baker Mayfield, as I speak today, is 100% the guy going forward for the Cleveland Browns as their franchise quarterback. The Cleveland Browns, in my opinion, have officially hit on a quarterback, and it's so great to see that because Cleveland, they've been lacking stability at the quarterback position for a long time. And it's pretty clear Cleveland has a great roster right now. The defense does leave a lot to be desired. They're often a challenged unit, but the offense, you got a great offensive line, maybe the best offensive line in all of football. You got a great running back tandem with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. You got good wide receivers, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know how he was a sixth-round pick. He was an absolute steal. Jarvis Landry's really good. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to come back next year. We'll see if he gets traded. But when Odell Beckham Jr. is healthy, he's a top 10 wide receiver in all of football. They've got really good tight ends. And look, Baker Mayfield let me just say this about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is not the most talented quarterback in the entire NFL. And I looked at this Cleveland Browns roster and I said, this roster is really good. But I just wonder in the back of my mind, because Baker Mayfield, he took a step back last year. You know, he was wildly inaccurate at times. He was making poor decisions. He threw 20 interceptions last year. And I just thought to myself, man, I believed in Baker from day number one, but I'm wondering in the back of my mind, is Baker good enough to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes? Is he good enough to go toe-to-toe with Watson? Is he good enough to go toe-to-toe with Lamar? Is he good enough to beat a guy like Josh Allen? Because I saw he was that guy his rookie year, but his sophomore season, it was a completely different quarterback. He was awful last year, but Baker Mayfield, he's won me back over, and I'm confident saying I was still right about Baker Mayfield, okay? I never really bailed on the guy. I actually said that Baker Mayfield had a chance of a breakout season this year, and for what it's worth, he's probably having his best season as a pro. You know, Baker Mayfield, he's better than most people think. I kind of roll my eyes when people say Baker Mayfield has an average arm. Have you watched the guy throw on a consistent basis? The guy has a very strong arm. He can fit the ball in the tight windows. He can make all the throws. Maybe not the amount of throws that Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers can make, but Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are on a different planet based on the other quarterbacks in the NFL, you know. I'll tell you this much. Baker Mayfield's arm is better than Tua Tagovailoa's arm. Miami Dolphins fans continue to slurp Tua. They continue to say, oh, look at Tua. Tua's great. When in reality, Tua has an average arm, and I'm not sure if he's a franchise quarterback, but Baker's got a better arm than Tua Tagovailoa. He's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. I think Baker Mayfield's a better athlete than people are willing to give him credit for. He can move inside and outside the pocket if need be, okay? You know, he's more mobile than people realize. He's a decent athlete. He's good enough to move around and extend plays and run for a first down if need be. You saw the rushing touchdown that he had versus the Baltimore Ravens this past week on Monday Night Football. It was a great rushing touchdown. And the areas that I felt that Baker Mayfield needed to improve upon, he's really starting to improve in those areas, and that is a testament to his work ethic, and that's a testament to Baker Mayfield identifying what he's not good at and working on those things. That's so encouraging if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. I always felt that Baker Mayfield's pocket awareness kind of was lacking, even back to his days at Oklahoma. He's improved his pocket presence tremendously. He's standing tall in the pocket. He's not bailing outside the pocket way too early. He has a great feel for, moving inside and outside the pocket now. He's improved in that area. He's making much better decisions. He at times made some very poor decisions last year. He was just throwing to the other team last year. low-key Jameis Winston 2.0 last year, but he's definitely improved upon his decision-making. He's making very good decisions. He's been better versus pressure. At times, the book was out on Baker Mayfield that, he struggles versus pressure. Well, he's beating blitzes pretty well now. So, listen, man, I think that Baker Mayfield is the total package. Maybe not like a Justin Herbert or a Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, but like I said, those guys are in a different category talent-wise. Is Baker as talented as Patrick Mahomes? Nah. Is he athletic as Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, or Kyler Murray? Nah. But what does Baker Mayfield have? Baker Mayfield has that it factor. He's got the it factor, people. Guys rally behind Baker Mayfield. Guys want to play with this guy. And the Cleveland Browns, I believe they're building something, okay? I really do think they're building something tremendous in Cleveland. They have a chance to do something special. Kevin Stefanski appears to be the right head coach for Baker Mayfield. The Cleveland Browns have built a great roster around Baker Mayfield, and I'm confident that Baker Mayfield, going forward, is going to win a lot of games for the Cleveland Browns. I'll take Baker Mayfield in my foxhole 100%. He to me right now, he looks like a franchise quarterback. He's really starting to come into his own, and I'm a big-time believer in Baker Mayfield as the NFL starting quarterback. I now want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. I'm just over the people that continue to criticize Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, because they're just trying to be picky. They're trying to nitpick Lamar Jackson way too much. Stop overthinking it. Lamar Jackson is 100% a franchise quarterback. He is more than capable of winning a bunch of games. That's been proven. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I'm sorry, but if you don't think that's true, you're not watching enough games, or you got some type of agenda against one Lamar Jackson. People keep saying Lamar's not a great thrower on the football. He can't throw. He's regressed. Okay, fine. Let's play a game, people. I want to know, where do you people think Lamar Jackson ranks among current starting quarterbacks right now? Because I think we all can admit that Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson are kind of by themselves. They're the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But after that, I think it's pretty fair to say that Lamar Jackson is just as good as, if not better, than the next couple of quarterbacks I'm going to name. He's in that next tier. Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson. I take Deshaun Watson, but it's close. Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I'd probably take Lamar Jackson today. Over the next 10 years, give me Josh Allen. So as a result, that's a toss-up. And the same thing can be said for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. I think that Lamar is probably slightly better than Kyler Murray right now. If you want to say Kyler Murray is better than Lamar Jackson right now, that's fine. He's actually having a better season than Lamar Jackson, but the gap's not wide, people. So I named Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, Watson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. That's 6 quarterbacks. So right now, Lamar Jackson is anywhere from probably the 5th to 7th best quarterback at his position. I'm fine with that. If I can get a top 10 quarterback, I'm fine with that. Every quarterback in the NFL has some type of weakness. Okay, maybe outside of Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, okay? Russell Wilson, he's a little bit short. Kyler Murray, he's a little bit short. Can't always win from the pocket. Deshaun Watson, at times, he doesn't throw the most pretty deep ball, you know. Josh Allen, at times, he can be wildly inaccurate. Tom Brady can't move. Drew Brees, he can't move. People can say, Lamar Jackson can't throw. Well, Lamar Jackson last year led the NFL in touchdown passes. I don't know how a guy that leads the NFL in touchdown passes can't throw. It doesn't make any sense to me, okay? It just doesn't, okay? And when evaluating quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson today is a better quarterback than Drew Brees. Drew Brees is old, can't move, and he can't push the ball consistently down the field. The same thing can be said for Tom Brady. Are you taking Carson Wentz over Lamar Jackson? Because I'm not. Eagles fans in the offseason tried to convince me, look at what Carson Wentz is doing. He's better than Lamar Jackson. Carson Wentz right now today might not even be better than Jalen Hurts. Stop it. Ben Roethlisberger last week looked old. He looked washed versus the Buffalo Bills. Jared Goff, Are you kidding me? I'll take Lamar Jackson over Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not as dynamic as one Lamar Jackson. Baker Mayfield's good, but Lamar Jackson's way more dynamic than him. He's a better athlete. Okay? Folks, Lamar Jackson has proven to be an exceptional athlete. He had an exceptional season last year. And if you're exceptional at something, I can live with the rest. I'll give an example. People always knocked Miguel Cabrera in his prime, because they said, oh, Miguel Cabrera doesn't play defense. Oh, really? I'm not paying Miguel Cabrera to play defense. I'm paying Miguel Cabrera to hit baseballs over the seats. I don't care about his defense. The guy was the best hitter in the game of baseball for about a 5-year stretch. They talk about, oh, David Ortiz, he can't play defense. Have you seen him hit the ball? I need that guy in my lineup. I'll pay extra for David Ortiz. I don't care about his defense. I don't need him to play defense. People say, oh, James Harden, he's a lousy defender. Oh, really? James Harden, the former MVP of the league, one of the 5 to 10 best players in all of basketball? I'll pay extra for James Harden. They talked about, oh, Shaquille O'Neal, he's not a great free throw shooter. Well, guess what? He's excellent at everything else. People say, oh, Aaron Rodgers is moody. What human being is not moody, people? Aaron Rodgers, I'll take the extra baggage because that guy is the most talented quarterback of all time. That people say, oh, Tom Brady, he can't move. Tom Brady's excellent at the line of scrimmage. He's got excellent intangibles. He throws a very catchable football. I'm okay with them not being able to move. That's not what I'm designing my offense to do if I'm running an offense led by Tom Brady. Folks, Lamar Jackson is a franchise quarterback, and I'm okay with Lamar Jackson's limitations. I'm okay with them because he's an exceptional athlete and he's an exceptional human being. He makes the good decisions off the field. He's pissed off every time he loses. He's got the drive to be great. He wants to be great. He's got a great work ethic. He's a great leader. He's hardworking. His teammates love him. He's got that it factor to rally the troops around him. And Lamar Jackson, for what it's worth, he's 27-7 for his career as a starter. If you take away the games in which he's played Patrick Mahomes, he is 27-4 as a starter. Are you kidding me? That's great. And you could say, oh, Lamar Jackson, he can't throw. He makes poor decisions. Oh, really? Because Lamar Jackson, for his career, he's got 60 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Lamar Jackson doesn't throw interceptions. He doesn't throw a bunch of, haymakers to the other team like Brett Favre. He makes good decisions. He will take care of the football. Lamar Jackson's track record is that he's not going to throw a bunch of interceptions. He'll take care of the football. He's pretty accurate when given time to throw. He's more accurate than a prime Cam Newton. He's more accurate than Michael Vick was. Okay? And you folks love Michael Vick. You folks love Cam Newton. Lamar Jackson, he's more accurate than those guys. It's been proven by the numbers. I watched these games. Michael Vick at times wasn't accurate enough. At times Cam Newton, even to this day, still not accurate enough. I can't check off those boxes. I love Cam. I love Mike Vick. But Lamar Jackson is a more accurate passer than both of them, okay? I believe in Lamar Jackson. And people can say, oh, I don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to last. He's going to take too many hits. He can't play in the NFL that long. Listen, if I can get Lamar Jackson playing at an MVP level for only the next 7 to 8 years, I'm okay with that. You want to know why? Because I think most Carolina Panthers fans would take the Cam Newton era in Carolina. Keep in mind, people, Cam Newton only played 9 years in Carolina. The team got to a Super Bowl. They won a bunch of games. They won division titles. Sure, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they at least got to the Super Bowl. I'm confident that with John Harbaugh, that great coaching staff, and the great infrastructure of the Baltimore Ravens, they'll put a good team around Lamar Jackson that is capable enough for him to win a Super Bowl, okay? And by the way, when it comes to Lamar Jackson, if his athleticism deteriorates over time, he's a good enough decision maker and an accurate enough thrower of the football to still be an effective starting quarterback. He can still win you games, as time goes on, if he continues to develop as a passer, and I believe Lamar Jackson will continue to get better as a passer. I think that Lamar Jackson could have a very good long career. And by the way, if Lamar Jackson isn't going to last for 12 to 15 years, that's fine. If I can get him to be great for the next 5 years, I'm okay with that. Teams like Washington, teams like Jacksonville, teams like, I don't know, badly run organizations, the New York Jets, they've been starving for a good quarterback play for a long time. And the Baltimore Ravens, they're a good organization. They're going to get the quarterback situation figured out if Lamar Jackson flames out. So that's how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I'm okay with his limitations. I'm over the narrative that, Lamar Jackson has regressed. That's far from the truth. The team around Lamar Jackson has regressed. He hasn't regressed. And the Baltimore Ravens are smart. They should get Lamar Jackson a legitimate number one wide receiver to make him look better, because Lamar Jackson, he's been carrying this offense over the last 2 to 3 seasons. It's time the Baltimore Ravens help out Lamar Jackson and get him more weapons to throw to, because right now, this Baltimore Ravens offense can't be taken seriously because, well, you have to worry about Willie Snead and, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I'm so scared of Hollywood Brown. I'm so scared of Willie Snead. They're scaring me. No, they're not. They're not scaring you. So that's how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I'm okay with his limitations. I believe he's a franchise quarterback, and I'm a believer of Lamar Jackson going forward in the long term. So enough talking about Lamar Jackson. I now want to shift to one of his teammates, and that guy is Justin Tucker, the starting field goal kicker for the Baltimore Ravens. That kind of sounds weird. The starting kicker for the Baltimore Ravens, I should say. That sounds a little bit better, okay? But here's the thing, people. I believe Justin Tucker is one of the most valuable players in the entire NFL, 100%. When I think of most valuable in terms of football, I think of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Andrew Whitworth. I also think about Justin Tucker. And folks, we have to ask ourselves, when's the last time the Baltimore Ravens special teams has been god-awful? Because I can't name a year, at least in my lifetime, where the Baltimore Ravens special teams has been awful. And I think that's a reflection on Justin Tucker, the best player amongst their special teams unit. Justin Tucker, he's really, really good at his job, actually great at his job, not just really, really good. He's great at his job. And in fact, in my opinion, he's an all-time great. He's the all-time leader in field goal percentage. Okay, as far as field goal kicks made, he's got the highest percentage of field goal kicks made in NFL history at 90.8%. The guy makes 91% of his field goals nearly. He's almost at a 91% clip. That's amazing. That's the best all time. And the Baltimore Ravens, over the past, decade or so, they've won so many close games because of Justin Tucker. He's automatic. He's great. He's able to hit field goals from long distance. I'm talking 55 yards out, 58 yards out, 60 yards out. There's actually several videos online swirling around YouTube of him hitting 70-yard field goals in practice. He's unbelievable. He's a machine. And right now, Justin Tucker is getting paid $3.5 million per year. Folks, in my opinion, I believe he's vastly underpaid. He is underpaid based on that salary, okay? I would overpay to have Justin Tucker as my field goal kicker and as my special teams general. You're going to overpay for a nice car. You're going to overpay for nice shoes. You're going to overpay for a nice house. Why would you not overpay for the best kicker in the entire NFL and a guy that's automatic from long distance? The guy just does not miss field goals. Listen, I'm not an expert on kicking. I'm more of a quarterback guy. I like to evaluate the quarterback position. All I know is Justin Tucker, he attempts a lot of field goals and he makes most of them. Okay. He's just automatic. That's all I know about him. He's great. And in my opinion, we talk about Patrick Mahomes being a 99 overall in Madden, I believe that Aaron Donald's a 99 overall right now. If Justin Tucker's not a 99 overall kicker, then that's just a crime. Because I don't know how that guy is not a 99 overall at his position. There's really no weakness to his game. He's a great athlete. He's got great kicking power. He's very accurate, and he just makes all of his field goals, okay? He's deadly accurate. So I just wanted to appreciate Justin Tucker. I believe he's underappreciated, and I deem Justin Tucker to be one of the most valuable players in all of football. He's a Hall of Famer 100%, and it's not crazy to think that Justin Tucker is in the conversation for not only being one of the greatest kickers of all time, I believe he's on pace to probably be the greatest field goal kicker of all time. He's at least the best kicker of my lifetime. Adam Vinatieri also comes to mind. But yeah, man, Justin Tucker, he's the real deal. And I believe Justin Tucker is one of the most valuable players in the entire NFL. And he is vastly underpaid as I speak today. I would definitely overpay to have Justin Tucker on my roster 100%. I now want to shift to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers recently just lost to the Buffalo Bills 16-15 on Sunday Night Football during Week 14 of the 2020 NFL season. And listen, the sky is not falling for Pittsburgh. They're still 11-2. They're still holding on to the number 2 seed in the AFC, but it's pretty hard to ignore the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers have not been playing great football the last couple of weeks. They just got dominated by the Buffalo Bills. I know the score does not indicate that, but if you watch that game, you know the Pittsburgh Steelers were dominated from start to finish by a very good Buffalo Bills team, okay? They just came out flat. They dropped a lot of passes, and Pittsburgh, they just did not execute at a high level. Their starting quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, did not look good. Big Ben on the day had 187 yards, only completed 56% of his throws, had 2 interceptions. And as the season has gone on, it seems like Ben Roethlisberger seems to be getting older and older as I speak today. Now, theoretically, he's getting older and older because as the day is going, you get older, but he's looking more and more like an older aging quarterback as the season continues to progress. And a couple of weeks ago, I threw out the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers, even when they were undefeated, that they might have already reached their ceiling as a team, that this team might have already peaked. And as the season has gone on, each and every day that goes by, I think less and less of Pittsburgh as a Super Bowl contender for Super Bowl 55. Right now, Kansas City's better. Right now, Buffalo's better. Right now, Cleveland's better. Right now, Baltimore's better. Right now, Tennessee is better. That's just in the AFC. We're not even talking about Green Bay and New Orleans and teams like that. Now, does that mean Pittsburgh cannot win the Super Bowl, or that they're frauds, that they're trash, they're no good? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Pittsburgh is not a Super Bowl caliber team and that they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl, because they have enough talent to win the Super Bowl. But I just don't know if they're going to get over the hump this year. They're banged up right now on defense. Obviously, Devin Bush has been out for most of the season. Bud Dupree's out now for the rest of the year. Pittsburgh, they've got a lot of injuries right now. Their secondary is kind of banged up. Their offense has no identity. Their team right now that just cannot consistently run the football effectively. They've got no balanced attack. Their running game's not very good. Ben Roethlisberger seems to be wearing down. The wide receivers are dropping passes, and the defense is banged up. It's not a recipe for success. And I just truly believe that the brand that is the Pittsburgh Steelers is slowly but surely falling off. It's been over a decade since the Pittsburgh Steelers as an organization has won a Super Bowl. And right now today, I think Kansas City is a better future. I think Buffalo has just as good of a future as them. I think because of Lamar Jackson's age, the Baltimore Ravens have a better future. I like what the Cleveland Browns are building. I like what the Tennessee Titans are building. Heck, the Miami Dolphins, if Tua Tagovailoa continues to play better and better, the Miami Dolphins could be building something special. Not to mention, you still have to deal with, Bill Belichick. You mean to tell me Bill Belichick is going to be, having below 500 seasons forever. Bill Belichick this year very well could win 8 games. And this isn't a down year for Bill Belichick. You mean to tell me Deshaun Watson is not going to get a head coach for him that's good one day? If the Houston Texans hit on their next head coach, their window starts opening, in my opinion. And when you look at Ben Roethlisberger, sure, Ben Roethlisberger is still a very good quarterback, but he's not in his prime anymore. And I'm not sure the Pittsburgh Steelers have a plan put in place for who's going to be their next quarterback in the future right now, because on the roster currently, Mason Rudolph's not the guy. Doug Hodges is not the guy. So who's going to be the guy? Are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to go out and spend some money in free agency one day? Are they going to have to maybe trade for a Dwayne Haskins or a Sam Darnold? 2 guys that have some talent. I'm not that sold on Sam Darnold. I believe in Dwayne Haskins, but, it's very safe to say that Haskins, he might not be ready to take over a franchise right away. What if Ben Roethlisberger out the blue just suddenly retires? He's been contemplating retirement pretty much at every single press conference, it seems like. I mean, what's the Pittsburgh Steelers' plan in the future? Now, I believe Pittsburgh's going to figure it out because they're arguably one of, if not the most well-run organization in all of football. But right now, those are some question marks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when we evaluate Mike Tomlin is one of the best head coaches in all of football. He's been in Pittsburgh for 14 years. They've never had a losing season. And he's won a Super Bowl. That's great. But how has this team peaked with Mike Tomlin? Because over the past decade, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had some really, really good teams. They really have. They've had some great teams, great rosters, and no Super Bowl to show for it. It just seems like this team has not gotten over the hump since Mike Tomlin won his first ever Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm not sure if they can ever get over the hump again with Mike Tomlin, okay? And listen, to be very clear, I'm not advocating for Mike Tomlin to be fired, okay? Because you don't fire a guy that's a stable head coach that's top 3 or 5 in his position, okay? And for what it's worth, you maybe could see the Pittsburgh Steelers get over the hump with Mike Tomlin, but history right now shows that might not be the case. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. I just look at Pittsburgh and I say, right now, today, they may not be among one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, even though they definitely have the talent to do so. But right now, they're not executing at a high level. And we've seen McDonald's. It used to be the standard of fast food. Now, today, I think a lot of people would prefer Fil A over the McDonald's and Burger Kings of the world. By the way, Popeyes is my favorite fast food restaurant. That's some good chicken right there. And their apple pies, man, that's off the charts. But either way, not speaking too much on food anymore. It just seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers brand is kind of slowly eroding away. There's some good up-and-coming teams. Is Pittsburgh well-run? Yes. Is Pittsburgh a great organization? Yes. But, however, the Pittsburgh Steelers brand, slowly but surely, could be eroding away as time goes on, as it's been over a decade since Pittsburgh has won a Super Bowl, and I'm not sure when they're going to get back as I speak today. I now want to transition to the Washington football team. So Washington right now, heading into Week 15 of the 2020 NFL season, they're currently 6-7 on the year. They currently lead the woeful, terrible, no good NFC East division. And look, I cannot overstate how good of a job head coach Ron Rivera has done in year number 1. I understand that the Washington football team is below 500, but you can clearly see if a team is making progress, if you just watch them play and not look at the record. Last year, the Miami Dolphins, I said they were making a ton of progress despite being below 500 because Brian Flores had that team improving and playing hard each week. You could say the same thing this year about Joe Judge and the Giants. You could say the same thing about Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers this year. Last year, I said the Arizona Cardinals, look out, they're an up-and-coming team. So I don't really pay too much attention to the record. I will say Washington already has doubled their win total from last year. They only won 3 games last year. They've won 6 games this year. There's 3 games left remaining on the schedule. This team plays hard. They improve every single week. And the culture and the standard in Washington has clearly changed, and that is due to Ron Rivera. However, I believe Alex Smith deserves a lot of credit as well. Initially, Ron Rivera named Dwayne Haskins the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. He benched Dwayne Haskins after 4 weeks. He demoted him to third string. At the time, I disagree with the move. I still disagree with the move as I speak today. Just because I don't think that Alex Smith and Kyle Allen, when they play games, have proven to be significant upgrades from Dwayne Haskins. And for what it's worth, the Washington football team has beaten the Dallas Cowboys twice. They've beaten the Bengals. They've beaten the 49ers. A lot of bad teams that they've beaten, I think that if you gave Dwayne Haskins more time to properly develop and really get his feet wet in this new offense, he would be doing very similar things as of right now. But, I gotta say, I think that Alex Smith definitely has provided a spark for Washington. And it's pretty clear to see that with a young team, Alex Smith has really steered the ship in the right direction. And he's helping this young Washington football team learn how to win games. He's really become a great leader for Washington because guys like Cam Sims, Logan Thomas have stepped up while Alex Smith has played. They're getting better. The defense seems to be rallying around Alex Smith, and he's not knocking your socks off. He's only thrown 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions on the season. Got a 79 pass rating. That's not particularly great, but what Alex Smith is doing is he's making the right reads. He's sustaining drives, and he's not trying to do too much. He's done a solid job of managing football games. That's kind of just what Washington needs. And it seems like that Alex Smith is the type of quarterback that Ron Rivera caters to. Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach. Keep that in mind. So what does that mean? That means that anytime the offense is behind the 8 ball and the offense makes mistakes, that affects the defense. And because Ron Rivera is so passionate about his defense, because he's a defensive-minded head coach, that tends to tick off Ron Rivera when the offense is not helping out the defense because, he's a defensive-minded head coach. He likes a quarterback that he can trust, that doesn't make a ton of mistakes, and a quarterback that's just going to run the offense that is given to him. Ron Rivera doesn't need Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins or Kyle Allen to be world beaters right now because, the offense really is not that good. The offensive line is kind of hit and miss. Outside Terry, you don't have a whole lot of weapons. But if Washington just takes care of the football and they just run their offense effectively and chew out the clock and the offense doesn't make mistakes and they allow the defense to do what they need to do, that's where Washington wins football games. So Ron Rivera definitely seems to admire Alex Smith. I think that he likes the way he sort of commands the locker room. He embraces his leadership. And Alex Smith seems like the right type of quarterback that Ron Rivera would cater to. And I could see Alex Smith being the starting quarterback for Washington next season. It seems like the coaching staff really likes Alex Smith being in the building. They trust him. And Alex Smith could be a guy that is there to continue to mentor one Dwayne Haskins. Or if Washington decides to draft another quarterback, if they've given up on Dwayne Haskins. Personally, I have not given up on Dwayne Haskins. I believe in Dwayne Haskins. I believe Dwayne Haskins can become a franchise quarterback. I've not sold my stock on him. But, hey, the coaching staff could feel a whole different way about Dwayne Haskins. So if you draft another quarterback, Alex Smith could be the mentor for that young quarterback, very similar to how he was the mentor for Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago when the Kansas City Chiefs traded up in the draft to go snag Patrick Mahomes, okay? And listen, at some point, Washington is going to need to upgrade at quarterback because it's not like Alex Smith is playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. He's not scaring anyone. He's not lighting the world on fire. And for what it's worth, a prime Alex Smith, when he had a ton of weapons in Kansas City and when he had a great roster in San Francisco, he still couldn't get the job done. He could not win a Super Bowl with those rosters. And we saw Patrick Mahomes take that same roster that Alex Smith had and virtually not even look back twice, okay? Patrick Mahomes took the Kansas City Chiefs from a good team to a Super Bowl team. Because Alex Smith, he was good, but not quite good enough to win Kansas City a Super Bowl. Same thing with the 49ers. He wasn't quite good enough to win them a Super Bowl. Okay? So at some point, I think that Washington definitely needs to upgrade a quarterback. I don't trust Alex Smith to lead them to the promised land. So at some point, I want to see Dwayne Haskins take over this team. At some point, I want to see maybe Washington upgrade the quarterback position, okay? But I think that Alex Smith could be the stop bridge gap quarterback to Dwayne Haskins, or maybe a guy like Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, if Washington wants to draft a quarterback. I fully believe that Alex Smith probably is going to be on the roster next year. I could be wrong, but I think that Ron Rivera and the coaching staff want to keep Alex Smith along for the ride, just for the short term at least. I could see Alex Smith being the short-term answer at quarterback for Washington. The coaching staff seems to believe in him, and the team is winning games led by Alex Smith's leadership. So that's how I feel about Alex Smith. And by the way, I kind of want to give him a mini shout-out just because he had that gruesome leg injury. I didn't even think Alex Smith would be a good starting quarterback anymore, due to his injury a couple of years ago. But he's worked his way back. He's playing some good football, and it's great to see Alex Smith, really, starting to rally this Washington football team. He's definitely been a big part of their success this year. His leadership, his accuracy has definitely helped out the team. I think that he's definitely great for that locker room and that building, and I won't be shocked if Alex Smith wins Comeback Player of the Year this year. So that's how I feel about Alex Smith. He definitely could be at least the short-term future at quarterback in Washington. Okay, let's talk about Dwayne Haskins and the Washington football team. So, Alex Smith is out due to injury. He got injured versus the 49ers last week during Week 14 of the 2020 NFL season. Washington did win that game, but it was not because of Alex Smith. It was because of the defense. And Dwayne Haskins came in relief of Alex Smith when he got hurt. He made some good throws, Right now, Washington heading into Week 15 of the 2020 season, they're going to be facing Seattle. Washington is 6-7 on the year. They currently lead the terrible NFC East division. Seattle's coming into town. They're a team that is 9-4 on the season. They're tied with the Los Angeles Rams for the lead in the NFC West. So this is a team that, is looking to make a playoff push. Washington is looking to make a playoff push, potentially to try to win their division. And Alex Smith, he's out in this game. He has a leg injury. So former first-round pick out of Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins, is going to get the starting nod. Now, those of you that have been following this show for a long time, you guys know I'm a big-time Dwayne Haskins fan. I believe in Dwayne Haskins. I've not sold my Dwayne Haskins stock. I still think he can become a top 10 quarterback one day. I've said in the past, I believe he'll be a top 10 quarterback one day. I felt that when he was coming out and entering the draft, he was worth a top 10 pick. And I didn't think this year Dwayne Haskins would have a breakout season, but I at least felt that he would silence all doubters and at least put a nail in the coffin to the point to where it would be no doubt that he's the guy going for Washington. And 4 games into the season, well, he got benched and he was demoted to third string in favor of Kyle Allen and Alex Smith. And to this day, I still disagree with the move that Ron Rivera made to bench Dwayne Haskins after 4 games, just because when I look at a young quarterback, I believe that when you look at Dwayne Haskins, I felt that he should have got the full 16 games to prove to the organization that he 100% is the guy, because you never know when a young quarterback really starts to hit their stride. I at least think that Ron Rivera, pulled him way too early. He at least should have given him to Week 8. I think that you at least should have given him to midseason. And let's be real, I think that Washington, actually, in my opinion at least, could have had a similar record with Dwayne Haskins starting right now, because while Alex Smith has great leadership qualities, while he seems to be running the offense very well, It's not like Washington has gone out here and beaten a bunch of good teams over the past couple of weeks. They've beaten the Bengals. They've beaten the Cowboys twice. They just beat the 49ers, who have not been a good team all year. Yes, they did beat the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's not crazy to think that Dwayne Haskins, as he continued to get more and more comfortable in the system, as he continued to, learn the offense on the fly and get better and develop as a quarterback, he could have had you around 5 or 6 wins at this point in the season. That's just my humble opinion. I mean, for what it's worth, a lot of people thought that Jared Goff was terrible his rookie year. He turned out to be a very good quarterback that's gotten to a Super Bowl. He's a franchise quarterback. A lot of people were down on Josh Allen. I said, nope, don't sell your Josh Allen stock. He has a lot of talent. And what do you know? 3 years in, Josh Allen's really good. Peyton Manning, he was awful, the first, year and a half of his career. He really turned things around after that. So I don't think you should give up on Dwayne Haskins. He's only had 11 career starts up to this point. I don't know if Dwayne Haskins is a good quarterback or not, just because I don't judge quarterbacks based on their first 11 starts, especially, based on the way Dwayne Haskins has been treated and handled so far in the NFL, okay? I know a lot of Washington fans have given up on Dwayne Haskins, and they're going to disagree with me, but that's how I feel. I still think Dwayne Haskins can be that guy, and Alex Smith is not knocking your socks off. He's thrown 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions as a 79 pass rating on the season. It's not like Kyle Allen was knocking anyone's socks off when he was playing games for them, okay? So listen, I still believe in Dwayne Haskins, and I do believe that this week in Week 15 in the 2020 season versus the Seattle Seahawks, Dwayne Haskins has a great opportunity in front of him to prove to the fans and the coaching staff that he should be the guy for Washington going forward. Think about it. Let's think about it from a couple of angles. Whether Washington wants to admit it or not, they would love for Dwayne Haskins to actually be the guy. Because think about it. Dwayne Haskins is still on his rookie contract. So you can still build a good team around Dwayne Haskins if you believe he's the guy, because you're not paying him a bunch of money. He's a hometown kid. And if you think Dwayne Haskins is your guy, if you establish he's the guy, guess what? You don't need to think about scouting and drafting another quarterback. You can immediately just, say, hey, let's fix the offensive line. Let's get more wide receivers. Let's continue to build this defense. If Dwayne Haskins is the guy, that erases a lot of questions, and it makes life easier for Washington's coaching staff and organization. And let's say Dwayne Haskins goes out there and plays great football versus the Seattle Seahawks in Week 15. The team rallies behind them, and Washington gets a victory. Don't you kind of think you have to roll with Dwayne Haskins the rest of the way in 2020? Because as good as Alex Smith has been for this team, I don't think he's a long-term future of this team, okay? I really don't. I don't think he's a long-term future because, well, Dwayne Haskins, I believe he's 24 years old. Alex Smith is, 36, 37 years old? His best football, in my opinion, is behind him, okay? And don't you think that maybe Dwayne Haskins, if he wins that game versus Seattle, that will kind of have shown that he's grown since he's been benched, that he's really started to get the playbook down, that he's improved as a quarterback? And listen, we don't know how serious Alex Smith's injury is currently, okay? So you don't want to rush Alex Smith back onto the field, and then he could be, in even more danger out there, okay? And the thing about Dwayne Haskins is this. You would think that his best football is ahead of him, okay? The guy is still only 24 years old. He's either 23 or 24 years old. I forgot what his age is, but he's somewhere around that age. He's in his early 20s, bottom line, okay? It's very easy to think that Dwayne Haskins' best football is still ahead of him. Usually a quarterback kind of plateaus by year number 5. Dwayne Haskins, he's still only in his sophomore season in the NFL. And keep in mind, Dwayne Haskins only had 1 year of starting at Ohio State, in which he balled out in that one season and threw 50 touchdown passes, okay? But here's the thing. When you only have 1 year of starting under your belt in college and you're young in the NFL, that means that you're not a finished product yet. It's very easy to think that a couple of years from now, Dwayne Haskins continues to play games, continues to get better, the team improves around him. he's going to continue to get better and better as a quarterback. You mean to tell me he's going to get worse as you continue to develop him and he gets more experience and the team around him gets better? It's very rare that a quarterback that's young with a lot of talent, and Dwayne Haskins has some arm talent. He's got a very strong arm. When given time, he throws a very good football, okay? It's very rare that a young, talented quarterback gets worse as they get more experience and the team around them gets better. And now Washington, throughout the season, they've kind of found out ways to win. Now it's all about, okay, who's the future quarterback of this team? Dwayne Haskins very well could be that guy. And listen, you don't get many second or third chances in the NFL. If Dwayne Haskins is smart and Dwayne Haskins realizes what's in front of him, I think that Dwayne Haskins would be best served to go out there and play some good football and show this coaching staff versus Seattle that he should be the guy going forward, okay? And here's the thing. I don't know where the coaching staff as a whole stands on Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera has said in a couple of interviews he's not giving up on Dwayne Haskins despite the benching. You know, he actually on the Rich Eisen show a couple of weeks ago said, just because I benched the guy doesn't mean I'm done with him. So we'll see if Ron Rivera's words are put to action eventually. I could see a situation where Alex Smith continues to be the starter, and when Dwayne Haskins is ready, Ron Rivera pulls the trigger. And I could see a situation where if Dwayne Haskins plays well, and again, he has to play well, okay? He can't come out here and stink up the joint versus Seattle, because if he does, well, that proves nothing. That just proves, Ron Rivera made the right decision. So, Dwayne Haskins, it's your time. It's time to put up or shut up. You're on the clock. You need to play well. But whether Haskins plays well or not, or if he plays badly, I don't know where the coaching staff really stands on him. Usually, decisions are made long before they go public, okay? So, if Washington has given up on Dwayne Haskins, within that building, they know whether or not they've given up on Dwayne Haskins. Now, again, they could be convinced over the next couple of weeks, hey, he's improved, we can make a different decision, but usually a coaching staff knows when they're going to move in a different direction. So whether I believe in Dwayne Haskins or whether the fans believe in Dwayne Haskins or not, the coaching staff is going to do what they're going to do. Okay, so let's just hypothetically say, for whatever reason, Ron Rivera says Dwayne Haskins lost cause. I don't want to invest in him anymore. Well, guess what? This means Dwayne Haskins is currently trying out for 31 other NFL teams, because I don't think Washington wants to just cut the guy. They'll kind of want some compensation back for Dwayne Haskins if they were to move on from him, because I think that they will probably look to trade him if they draft a quarterback. So, Haskins, you're trying out for 32 other NFL teams. What team is going to, go out there and grab Dwayne Haskins and look at the film and say, hey, this guy, there's something right here, okay? I don't know what team that's going to be. Maybe it's the Colts. Maybe it's the Steelers. Maybe it's the Falcons, Maybe it's the Jaguars. I don't know what team it's going to be, but Dwayne Haskins has put together a small sample size in the NFL, and for the most part, it's been an up and down sample size. So anytime Dwayne Haskins can continue to get more experience and put good tape on display for other NFL teams, that's always a good sign. So Dwayne Haskins, you're trying out for this coaching staff. You're trying out to keep your job as a starter potentially for the future, and you're trying out for 31 other NFL teams. So Dwayne Haskins has a great opportunity in front of him versus Seattle. I still believe in Dwayne Haskins, but he's got to start playing better. He's got to eventually put up or shut up. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Dwayne Haskins plays versus the Seattle Seahawks, and I very well could see Dwayne Haskins playing well versus the defense that's been up and down. I could see a situation where if he plays well, Ron Rivera gives him the rest of the season, and versus Carolina, maybe gets a win. And at that point, you pretty much locked in the division, because Philadelphia, they're only at 4 wins on the year. The Giants, they've got injuries to Daniel Jones and a bunch of other players on their team. They're falling apart down the stretch. And the Dallas Cowboys, they're the Dallas Cowboys. Washington has a chance to win this division, and Dwayne Haskins, he has a chance to take the NFC East by storm and win this division for Washington. So I'm rooting for Dwayne Haskins. I hope he succeeds. And ultimately, I won't be shocked if Dwayne Haskins takes the NFC East by storm, starting versus the Seattle Seahawks this week in week 15 of the 2020 NFL season. We shall see what the future holds for one Dwayne Haskins, especially in Washington. I now must have a conversation with Minnesota Vikings fans. Vikings fans, it's pretty clear that the Kirk Cousins experiment has failed in Minnesota. Minnesota this year is 6-7 on the season, heading into week 15 of the 2020 season. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. It's possible because right now they're the 8th seed. They're one game behind the Arizona Cardinals. They very well could make the playoffs, but for what it's worth, if Minnesota does make the playoffs, they're not close to New Orleans. They're not close to Green Bay. They're not close to the Rams. They're not close to Seattle. They're not a playoff threat. They don't have the horses to win the Super Bowl this year. And Kirk Cousins has been in Minnesota for 3 seasons so far. And in those 3 years, he's got one playoff victory to show for it. One playoff win in 3 years. This year, you might not even make the playoffs. And in his first year, he didn't make the playoffs as well. Last year, he made the playoffs, had a great playoff win versus New Orleans. But you brought in Kirk Cousins to win more than one playoff game. And keep in mind, Kirk Cousins, he was brought in to get Minnesota over the hump. The Minnesota Vikings in 2017 made the NFC Championship game. They went 13-3. They had a great roster. Case Keenum was playing some of the best football of his career. And they got smoked by the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC title game. And Minnesota, they said, okay, we've got a great team. We've got a great roster. However, we believe an upgraded quarterback will get us over the top and potentially win us a Super Bowl. And they identified Kirk Cousins as that guy. They paid Kirk Cousins $84 million over a 3-year period. That at the time made him the highest paid player in NFL history. And so far, Kirk Cousins has not lived up to the contract. He just hasn't. Minnesota has not gotten over the hump. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. And you need a lot around Kirk Cousins for him to win games. And even if you have a great roster, it's not guaranteed that Kirk Cousins will win you big games and that he will take you to the promised land. Minnesota has done a great job of putting talent around Kirk Cousins during this 3-year period in which he's been here in Minnesota. Adam Thielen, a really good wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, really good. Justin Jefferson, really good. At tight end, Kyle Rudolph. Irv Smith, they're pretty good. Dalvin Cook, if you heard of him, might be the best running back in all of football. The defense has been great. It's been excellent. Mike Zimmer's a really good head coach. Sure, the offensive line at times has been hit and miss, but the offensive line is pretty good this year, and you're never going to be a perfect football team. Every single football team in the NFL right now has some type of weakness, okay? This Minnesota Vikings roster has been good enough to go out there and compete for Super Bowl titles. And Kirk Cousins, he just hasn't wound up big games. In his 3 years in Minnesota so far, he's got a 6-16 record. 6 wins and 16 losses versus teams above 500. Winning teams above 500. He's 6-16. For that production, you might as well have kept Case Keenum. Case Keenum was a cheaper option. You could have put a lot more around Case Keenum. The thing about Kirk Cousins is he was brought in to be the missing piece and to get Minnesota over the hump, and he just has not done that, okay? He has not. The Kirk Cousins experiment has failed in Minnesota. You know, Kirk Cousins is to blame, in my opinion. Not entirely, because at times the roster has not played up to par in some of these big games. I think Mike Zimmer is kind of a throwback head coach. He's not as hip or as new or as creative as a Kyle Shanahan or a Sean McVay or a Matt LaFleur. And it's always tough playing against Aaron Rodgers twice a year in your division. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they won 13 games last year. They very well could win 13 games this year. They very well could win the Super Bowl this year, might I add, okay? So it's a tough division, you know, but listen, Minnesota has had talent, and for what they brought Kirk Cousins in to do, he's not accomplished what they thought he could have done. So in reality, the Kirk Cousins experiment in Minnesota has failed up to this point. I want to now shift to Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals. Zach Taylor is currently the Cincinnati Bengals head coach, but I'm going to be the guy that spoils the party. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals need to fire Zach Taylor. This past Sunday, the Cincinnati Bengals lost 30-7 to the Dallas Cowboys. And keep in mind, the Dallas Cowboys are awful. They're not a great team. And Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys. And I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, but Zach Taylor has had the Bengals competing. They've been in a lot of close games over the past 2 years. They're competing. And last year, sure, that was good enough to be the standard. But at some point, folks, we cannot keep handing out participation trophies. At some point, you need to win games. The NFL is a results-oriented business. I'm not into participation trophies. Oh, our team competed this week. No, did your team win or did your team lose? Is your head coach getting it done or is he losing games? And Zach Taylor, he has not won enough games so far up to this point in Cincinnati. And people can talk about, oh, the Bengals, they always are competing. They're always in these one-score games. Well, what's Zach Taylor's record in these one-score games? Over the past 2 years, Zach Taylor's record in one-score games is 1-13-1. 1 win, 13 losses, and a tie. And people could say, oh, Zach Taylor, he has no talent to work with on his roster. The roster's no good. I feel for Zach Taylor. Well, to that I say, Ron Rivera inherited a dysfunctional organization with a crackhead, honestly, for an owner, and Daniel Snyder, a borderline crackhead, a guy, maybe not a crackhead, that might be a little harsh, but a guy that has proven to be a very bad owner in Daniel Snyder. Ron Rivera inherited chaos. He inherited a 3-win ball club, and outside of adding Chase Young, it's not like the Washington football team went out and spent a bunch of money in free agency. They didn't spend the third most money in free agency like the Bengals did this past offseason. The Bengals, they actually spent some money in free agency. They spent the third most money in free agency this past year. Ron Rivera has Washington in a position to win their division. They're much improved. Joe Judge, same thing with him. The Giants are vastly improved, and they're not a very talented team. Brian Flores, with nothing last year, won 5 games. People were talking about the Miami Dolphins as maybe having one of the worst rosters of all time. And Brian Flores found a way to win 5 games. Cliff Kingsbury, his rookie year in Arizona, he found a way to improve the team. Kyle Shanahan, he's winning games in a very tough division with Nick Mullins. Matt Rule, he's improved the Carolina Panthers. So I'm done with those excuses. There are other head coaches out there turning water into wine and making Zach Taylor look bad, okay? I ask Bengals fans this question. What is Zach Taylor's specialty? What is Zach Taylor really, really good at? Because Bill Belichick, what makes him special is he's a defensive-minded head coach, a defensive guru. Kyle Shanahan, he's an offensive genius. What makes Zach Taylor stand out among current head coaches? Is he an offensive guru? No. Is he a defensive guru? No. Is Joe Burrow lighting the world on fire? Yes, he is. But if you look at the offense without Joe Burrow, it's awful. Joe Burrow was hiding a lot of weaknesses that the Cincinnati Bengals had as a football team, okay? He was covering up a lot of things, okay? He was a big-time Band-Aid that covered up a lot of bad sour patches and weaknesses on that football team. This team is getting exposed without Joe Burrow because they're not even watchable without Joe Burrow, okay? And do we trust Zach Taylor to get the most out of Joe Burrow? Because I don't. Do we trust Zach Taylor to go against the Andy Reids of the world, the Mike Tomlins of the world, the Sean McDermotts of the world, the Brian Flores of the world? I could go on and on. John Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick in a down year is going to win 8 games. Frank Wright's one of the best head coaches in the AFC and all of football, arguably, too. Is Zach Taylor ready to go up against those guys? Because I don't think so. Because if the Cincinnati Bengals are facing any of those teams, they're at a massive coaching disadvantage because of Zach Taylor. And I don't think Zach Taylor is the right guy to lead the Cincinnati Bengals to the promised land. He's not a Super Bowl caliber coach. He's just not, okay? So, for all those reasons I mentioned, Zach Taylor, I believe he needs to be fired. He's probably not gotten the most fair of shakes so far in the NFL, but that's life in the NFL. You need to make good with what you have. And so far, I think Zach Taylor has underachieved in Cincinnati. And if I were the Cincinnati Bengals, I would fire Zach Taylor in order to try to get the most out of Joe Burrow and this roster, because in your own division, Kevin Stefanski, John Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin are miles ahead of Zach Taylor. It ain't even close. So for all those and that's just in your division, okay? We're not even talking about the Andy Reids and the Mike Vrabels and the Brian Floreses of the world and the Bill Belichicks of the world. So for all those reasons that I mentioned, I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are best served trying to get the most out of Joe Burrow and this roster. They need to go out and spend some money to get a top of the level head coach. And in reality, Zach Taylor needs to be fired by the end of the 2020 season in Cincinnati. I now want to shift to Anthony Lynn, the current Los Angeles Chargers head coach. Anthony Lynn, in my opinion, is not an awful head coach. His first season with the Chargers, he went 9-7. In 2018, he got the team to the playoffs. The team won 12 games that were very good. And Anthony Lynn, his record with the Chargers is 31-31. 31 wins, 31 losses. Again, not knocking your socks off, but not terrible. But I believe if the Los Angeles Chargers want to maximize Justin Herbert's talent, they must fire Anthony Lynn. That's the move I would make, okay? Because here's the thing, okay? Anthony Lynn, he's an average head coach. He's an average head coach at best. And do you really truly believe that Anthony Lynn is capable of getting the most out of Justin Herbert? Because I'm not. Like I mentioned earlier with Zach Taylor, he's just not good enough. He does not meet the threshold to become a Super Bowl caliber head coach. To me, I don't think Anthony Lynn's a top tier head coach. I just don't, okay? And like I mentioned earlier, in the AFC alone, you're going to have to outcoach Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott, Brian Flores, John Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, Frank Wright. Anthony Lynn just doesn't match up with those guys. And let's look at the last 10 Super Bowl winning teams, and let's evaluate the head coaches on those rosters. Mike McCarthy, Tom Coughlin, John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Gary Kubiak, Bill Belichick, Doug Peterson, Bill Belichick, and Andy Reid. Anthony Lynn, he doesn't stack up with those guys. And by the way, for those of you that are saying, oh, Mike McCarthy's not a great head coach, Gary Kubiak's not great, at the time, Mike McCarthy was labeled as a pretty good head coach. At that moment in time, McCarthy was at the top of the game. And at that time, Gary Kubiak was one of the best offensive minds in the entire NFL. At that moment, okay? Right now, not so much. But at that moment, they were pretty good. Anthony Lynn, he just doesn't meet the criteria, okay? And let's go back to week 13 of the 2020 season, when Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots rolled into town to face the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers lost that game 45-0. That was one of the biggest head coaching mismatches that I've ever seen. It was probably the biggest discrepancy and the biggest gap between the head coach on one side and the head coach on the other. Anthony Lynn, he just doesn't match up with these top tier head coaches. And listen, you're in a division with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Now, while Justin Herbert is not quite as good as Patrick Mahomes, he's pretty darn talented, got one of the 5 best arms in all of football. But Anthony Lynn, he's just an average Joe. He doesn't match up with Andy Reid. So, if the Chargers are smart, they will go out and spend some money for a Robert Saleh or an Eric Bieniemy or a Brian Dable. The Chargers are a big-time market. They're in Los Angeles, California. I guarantee you, head coaches would flock to go try to coach Justin Herbert, especially with that very talented roster that you have with the Chargers, and especially due to the fact that that's a big-time market. It's not like Green Bay, Wisconsin, okay? A lot of NFL players would love to live in and would love to play in Los Angeles, California. I guarantee you, okay? And here's the thing, people. This Chargers team is underachieving with Anthony Lynn. They've blown way too many leads. They continue to shoot themselves in the foot. The way they've been losing games in 2020 has been embarrassing. And it's not good enough. So in reality, I believe if the Chargers want to maximize Justin Herbert's talent, if they want to be serious about winning Super Bowls, if they're serious about knocking off Kansas City, if they're serious about being better than the Raiders, if they're serious about consistently being better than the Broncos, they will go out and spend some extra money on a top-of-the-level head coach, and they will fire Anthony Lynn. Chargers, make it happen, because it's a move that you need to make. Anthony Lynn should be fired as Los Angeles Chargers head coach by the end of 2020. I now want to shift to Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, I've been really struggling to evaluate Derek Carr as a quarterback. I'm not sure if Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. I'm just not, okay? I understand that Derek Carr on the year is completing 68.1% of his throws. He's thrown for 3,396 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions through 14 games of the 2020 NFL season. And the team right now is 7-7, okay? They've got 7 wins, 7 losses. And look, I've always been a guy that values the eye test and traits over stats, okay? But I can acknowledge that Derek Carr is having a pretty solid season. Early in the year, he did outplay Drew Brees. He did beat Patrick Mahomes once. He actually should have beat Patrick Mahomes probably twice had the Raiders defense of not let him down. Okay, but when I watch Derek Carr, it's just not obvious to me that he's a franchise quarterback. It's just not. When I watch Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, it's obvious to me they're franchise quarterbacks. Even guys like Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, even Jared Goff to a certain degree. When I watch these guys, I look at them and I say, yep, that's a franchise quarterback. Folks, there's a reason why, you know, people on these reality television shows where, you know, it's your American Idol or whatever you want to watch, there's a reason they only give you about a minute to showcase your talent, okay? Because it doesn't take long to see who's got the special sauce and who doesn't, okay? And I don't think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. It's not obvious to me, and because it's not obvious to me, and because Derek Carr has not won a bunch of playoff games, because he hasn't been to a Super Bowl, I don't think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. And here's another thing to keep in mind. Derek Carr at times has been a little injury prone. He can be a little fragile. You know, he had a serious back injury a couple of years ago. He did fracture his fibula during his MVP level season back in 2016. He wasn't able to play in the playoffs because of that injury. And last night versus the Chargers in Week 15, Derek Carr pulls his groin, and that was a game the Raiders absolutely needed. And look, injuries, I understand. They're very unpredictable. You're getting hit 24/7 as an NFL quarterback. You're playing a position in which you're going to get hit. You're going to take some big shots. It's hard to avoid injuries at times. I get it. But I'm going to pay more attention to the guys that are more durable than others. Okay, I value the Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings of the world back when he was playing, okay? The durable guys, okay? And I just don't think Derek Carr meets the criteria to be a franchise quarterback because at times he's playing injured. At times he hasn't been there available to play in big games because he's been injured. And I don't think Derek Carr has that special sauce. I just don't. Marcus Mariota came into the game last night, pardon me. Last night, Marcus Mariota came into the game to replace Derek Carr, and the Raiders didn't miss a beat. And it seemed like the team rallied behind Marcus Mariota in ways they did not rally behind Derek Carr. Okay? There's nothing about Derek Carr to me that galvanizes the troops around him. Okay? I'm not in the locker room, so again, you can hold me to that and say you're not in the locker room, that's fine, but I watched Tom Brady. I watched Drew Brees. I watched Deshaun Watson. And I see leadership from those guys. I see guys that galvanize the troops around them. Baker Mayfield, too. There's just a certain aura about them, a swagger. There's a certain fire burned in their chest to say, yeah, I'm the guy. We're going to win today on Sunday. Derek Carr, he seems timid. I don't see that leadership quality. He seems like a laid-back guy, and I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. And I look at the Raiders, and I think to myself, yes, this team is much better than I thought they would be, but they're much better than I thought they'd be because of the personnel around Derek Carr. Not because of Derek Carr himself, but I look at Darren Waller, one of the best tight ends in all football. I look at these wide receivers, this offensive line, Josh Jacobs, and I say Derek Carr's got a squad, okay? And I've always said this. If I take away a quarterback's best and worst season, usually whatever else is left is kind of what they are. Okay? It really is. So I did the evaluation. Derek Carr, he's played in the NFL for 7 seasons. I took away his rookie year, in which he had his worst season by far as a pro. I took away his 2016 year, the year in which he was an MVP candidate. I'm left with 5 years of mediocrity. The other 5 years, he's 31 and 46 as a starter. 31 wins, 46 losses. That's not a franchise quarterback. Where are the winning seasons? There's no winning seasons outside of 2016. Is it fair to say that Derek Carr is a one-hit wonder? How many 30-touchdown seasons has Derek Carr had in his career? 1. Folks, I just don't see the special sauce from Derek Carr. And again, you can win games with Derek Carr. Derek Carr's not an awful quarterback. He's not terrible. And for what it's worth, he's one of the more stable things in the Las Vegas Raiders organization right now. So I'm okay with the Raiders potentially extending Derek Carr and keeping him around because, well, it's hard to find a franchise quarterback. But at some point, if the Raiders down the stretch can upgrade, I believe they need to do so. Because I don't think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. I never really felt that he's been a franchise quarterback throughout his career. He's not as talented as some of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. He doesn't quite have the leadership qualities of some of the top tier quarterbacks, even the lesser talented quarterbacks like, I don't know, Baker Mayfield. He doesn't have that fire drive. He doesn't have that fire leadership ability that those quarterbacks have. And for what it's worth, I do not label Derek Carr as a franchise quarterback. Again, he could prove me wrong, but at some point, I need some signature wins. Where's the signature Derek Carr win outside of him beating Patrick Mahomes this season? There's not a whole lot of signature wins in Derek Carr's career, and in reality, the quarterback position is not about stats. It's not about looking good. It's all about, are you winning games or not? And Derek Carr, he hasn't won a lot of big games, and ultimately, the talent is not top tier, and it is not obvious to me that Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. He's good. He can win you games, but ultimately, I don't think Derek Carr is a long-term franchise quarterback. There's always the thought that if Derek Carr is your quarterback, we can get better. There's always going to be the thought. There's someone out there that's obviously better, and we wish we had them. That is the harsh reality about Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders up to this point. And Derek Carr, he very well could turn around his career one day. He very well could start winning division titles if the Raiders continue to build their defense, if they continue to establish having a great culture led by John Gruden. We'll see. But as of right now, I do not label Derek Carr as a franchise quarterback. At least it is not obvious to me. Well, folks, that's pretty much all I have today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. I hope you all are staying safe out there. Have a God bless day, everyone. And I'm Ghost. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.